Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader Guide, all companions in the game. For Prologue, Act 1 and Act 2. This covers all builds from level 1 to level 36 until Act 3 starts. The companions that we gonna get from left to right would be Navigator Cassia or Celio, ship's navigator. Then the main heretic on board, Psyker, Sanctioned Psyker, Idira Tlas, your Seneschal Faithful Abelard Verserian, the Eldari Sniper, Yrliet Lanaeves, Heinrix van Kelox, the Inquisitor of Ordoxenos, Jae Heidari, the main smuggler in Coronus Expanse, your tech magish priest Paqal, the know-it-all Paqal, aka Cag for Brains, and sister Argenta of Adeptas Sororitas. All of these builds were play-tested on unfair difficulty. If they work on unfair, they will work on all other difficulties as well. Let's go.
Are you ready for Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader? As I am. The Emperor protects.
Cassia or Celio build, your ship navigator. So you get Cassia very early in the game, and the first thing that you're gonna get as an officer Cassia would be Voice of Command. After that, it's Bring It Down. Those two spells are in cohesion, and you should always cast Voice of Command before putting Bring It Down on an ally to play again. Extremely good combo. On the next level, or rather to say on level 2, we're gonna learn Persuasion. On level 3, we're gonna get Back in a Fight as an ability. On level 4, Cassia receives Finest Hour ulti, one of the best ultis in the game. You basically give an entire turn to ally. For the very first talent, we're gonna learn Inspire Courage. Inspire Courage will raise allies' maximum wounds, or better to say, maximum health. On the next level, we're gonna learn Willpower as a characteristic. And we're gonna pick Eye of the Oblivion as a Navigator talent. Navigator talent is one of the best talents in a game. You remove dodge from enemies, or better to say you debuff enemies by just looking at them. For the next talent, we're gonna upgrade the Get Back in a Fight, and it's gonna become Wounds Are No Excuse, a buffed up version of Get Back in a Fight. And for the characteristic, we're gonna max out Willpower. We're always gonna go for Willpower whenever we can. For Cassia, we need huge Willpower. For the next ability, we're gonna learn Glimpse of Fate. Glimpse of Fate is an extremely good buff on yourself, on allies, no matter what. It gives plenty of good benefits. And it scales with Willpower that we're gonna have as the main stat. Everyone that's under the effect of Glimpse of Fate will receive additional dodge, additional hit chance, and better chance to resist different effects on a next status effect spell that they're gonna get targeted with. So basically it's one ability for a triple buff. For the Navigator talent, we're gonna learn Veil of Protection. Now why do we do it? Because she casts a lot of spells to buff and so on, and when you cast, for example, Glimpse of Fate on someone, that ally is also gonna receive additional armor on top of dodge and hit chance and whatnot. For the next level, we're gonna learn a talent called Contagious Luck. Contagious Luck will give ally a chance those that you buffed with your skills to reroll a failed check, or to reroll in combat if they miss, or if they get hit, they reroll dodge again, so they try to dodge it. Okay, basically it's a double play, but with dices. After Contagious Luck, we're gonna go with Lore Imperium. On the next level, we'll receive the first ulti upgrade, Finest Hour, and we're gonna pick upgrade number 2 as the first upgrade for the ulti. This is very good because once you put this ulti, for example on your tank on Abelard, and you send him in the middle of enemies among 20 enemies, Abelard won't die. He's gonna survive for entire round no matter how many times he get whacked on 1 HP. Very good to soak up damage. On the next level, we're gonna take Lore Warp. Warp is the most important thing on Cassia, because she is a navigator, she flies with your ship through warp. She's gonna have a lot of warp skill checks during Coronus Expanse map, during combat, during skill checks, when you explore maps and so on. So you're gonna use lore warp non-stop. Lore warp needs to be the highest skill on Cassia. And it's also lore friendly, because she's supposed to know about the warp the most. She's a navigator. For the characteristic, we're gonna take Fellowship, because she's an officer as well as a navigator, so she profits out of Fellowship, willpower, intelligence the most. For the next level, we're gonna learn Commanding Voice. Commanding Voice will increase all officer abilities by specific amount of tiles, 3 plus 6. Very good, you can reach further with your abilities, with your buffs. For the characteristic, we're gonna learn Fellowship. And the next ability that we're gonna take on Cassia will be Reveal the Light. Reveal the Light is yet another buff, but this time the buff raises willpower and toughness. Best is self-cast on Cassia and raise her willpower even further, so her spells will start hurting more and more once you enter Act 2. This is preparation for a full navigator Cassia from level 1 to level 16, so she becomes way much stronger after that. Reveal the Light is absolutely essential. After Reveal the Light, we're gonna learn additional talent from talents 2, and that's gonna be Swift Movements. We want huge movement points on the navigator, cause she's gonna move during combat non-stop everywhere to buff allies, dodge enemies, cast some damage dealing abilities on enemies and so on. Basically, you want movement points. So Swift Movements it is. On the next level, we're gonna learn Perilous Ways. Cassia has a very good damage dealing movement abilities, because she's a navigator where she gets to move one enemy or multiple enemies in the area of effect. With this talent, Perilous Ways, enemies will receive damage when they're moving, or better to say, when you move enemies with Cassia, they're gonna get hurt. It's extremely good, and this is the main thing how you should play Cassia. Correct talents that deal damage when you move enemies. And now Cassia becomes stronger and stronger as time goes on from this moment. For the skills on this level, we're gonna take Lore Imperium. On the next level, we're gonna get Toughness for Cassia and raise her maximum wounds, or better to say HP a bit. And we stick on raising maximum wounds with It Will Not Die, so Cassia cannot get one-shotted anymore. And for the final level, we're gonna take Finest Hour Upgrade 1. The first upgrade gives full invulnerability for an entire round where ally cannot die, and this upgrade will give additional damage to an ally that scales from Fellowship bonus. Cassia is a Navigator officer, so her Fellowship is already quite high, and you benefit the most out of this upgrade. So for the ulti upgrade again, we go with upgrade 1, and the first one would be upgrade 2, and that's about it. Now, what are the best items to equip on Cassia? Any item that's gonna give her movement, willpower, intelligence, perception, or fellowship is completely valid on Cassia. Or any item that gives lore warp is completely valid on Cassia. Those are the items, trinkets, capes, hands, and so on that you wanna use on Cassia. For armor, we always go with light armor with huge dodge. You must pay attention on Cassia to have extremely good dodge when you play. She needs to dodge, not to soak up damage. Alright. As far as weapons go, you gotta have two staffs, two navigator staffs. One staff should be the buffing staff, and the other staff should be the attacking staff. Okay, so how it goes, you equip, for example, this staff when you wanna buff up allies with all of those buff abilities I gave you, and once you want to move enemies, you equip a damage dealing staff that's gonna hurt enemies even more when you move them, and it's gonna scale with your talents, so you need to switch those staffs when you play. So what are the abilities that we are going to prepare on Cassia? We want Cassia to become a grand strategist post level 16, but from level 1 to level 16, these are the abilities that we're gonna use the most. Now, how do you use abilities when you want officer abilities with Cassia? Voice of command on an ally, and then play again with Bring It Down, Once ulti is there, you pop ulti and give them an extra turn. So you can basically tell an ally to play 2 times, including his own round. That will be 3 times in 1 round as Cassia. Once and if your ally is immobilized, stunned, burning, bleeding, and so on, you just pop voice of command and you say get back in a fight, and they clear all of those negative status effects. That's a defensive part of Cassia. And now comes the navigator part of Cassia. The spells that you're gonna have would be Lidless Stare, Notch of Purpose, Glimpse of Fate, and Reveal the Light. This is what you're gonna get from level 1 to level 16. These are for later on, post level 16. So these are the only spells that you're gonna have as far as this build goes. How you should usually open up. You're gonna buff up Cassia with Reveal the Light, and then you're gonna use Notch of Purpose to move enemy and hurt them. Pay attention that you have a staff that deals damage on movement as well. That's for the talents, gear, and spells combo. The ally that's gonna get targeted, you can give them Glimpse of Fate so they can dodge. Or ally that's gonna hurt, like Argenta, you can give them Glimpse of Fate so they hurt even more. I would not recommend going with Lidless Stare unless it's a must. It's far better to move an enemy and buff allies in the first round than to do Lidless Stare. When can you use Lidless Stare? Because it's an AoE damage dealing spell. When you open up fights in a surprise round, you get close enough to enemies, you whack them with Lidless Stare, collect as many as you can, and then go back. Okay, to start buffing allies, move enemies, tell them to play again, and so on. Cassia is probably the best companion as far as utility goes, and the best buffer in the game. Not only the buffer, also the damage dealer, because later on she's gonna hurt like crazy on top of all of those buffs and play against spells. So now that we're done with Officer Cassia, first tier, we're gonna transfer to the second tier and we're gonna pick Grand Strategist. The first and the main keystone feature would be combat tactics on Cassia. Truth to be told, this is the only valid option for Cassia, a Grand Strategist, because we want Cassia to be a full navigator. So everything, all talents, all abilities, we're going to invest into Navigator, right? Nothing into Grand Strategist. So why we pick Grand Strategist then? Because Grand Strategist has its own fields of combat. Rear line, back line, and front line, with specific benefits. Depends what field you cast, which I'll explain later on how to play Cassia. Anyways, the main keystone feature is really good. It's free to cast, it's 0 action points to cast 3 battlefields at once, and the only valid option on Cassia. The only valid option, I repeat again. Everything else, and you can't pick navigator spells and abilities, and this is a full navigator build. On the next level, we're gonna learn the ability called Point of Curiosity. Same movement, damage movement spell on Cassia is now AoE damage movement spell. So you're gonna pick up all enemies in a 6L radius around the center and move them chaotically around the map. Each tile that they move will deal damage to them. Absolutely one of the best skills that you can take on a navigator. For the next level, we're gonna learn navigator talent called Tonicity. And this talent will enhance Cassia's damage on her abilities, or better to say on her navigator spells, even further. For the next level, we receive Take and Hold ulti, which is completely useless on Cassia, but that's what you get on a Grand Strategist. Again, it's useless. For the next level, there is a huge power spike on Cassia, where she can cast 2 buffs and 3 damage dealing spells during 1 round. Action point increase +1, absolutely huge power spike. And we're gonna take on the same level willpower. We want huge willpower on Cassia to hurt more with spells. On the next level, we're gonna take a new talent called Mind over Matter. This will make willpower use all the benefits from toughness, so now Cassia will fully scale with willpower. And as you can tell, willpower is the highest stat. And of course, on the same level, we're gonna learn willpower again. For the next level, we're gonna learn the ability called Visions of Hell. All enemies in a big AoE area will suffer huge penalties your willpower scaling, okay, on their toughness until the end of combat. One of the best debuffs in the game. For the next level, we're gonna learn Lore Warp, and on the same level, we're gonna give Cassia extra dodge with Nimble talent from talents tier 2. Also, the main defensive stat on Cassia would be dodge. Max it out as fast as you can. For the next level, we're gonna learn Intelligence on Cassia, and for the talent, we're gonna pick Open the Warp. Every time when enemies resist Cassia's spells, the resistance will go by -10 until it works. So if it doesn't work on round 1, it will work on round 2. If it doesn't work on round 1 and 2, it will definitely work on round 3. This is a great talent on Cassia. The next level, we're gonna take a talent called Pass Unscathed. Now, how Cassia transferred toughness into willpower, this time she will transfer agility into perception, and her dodge will scale out of perception. Very good talent. In this case, the higher the perception is, the bigger the dodge on Cassia. On the next level, we're gonna learn Intelligence, and we're gonna pick Lore Warp for the skill check. While Lore Warp, I already said it a million times, this is your ship's navigator, the one that takes you through the warp. It's a logical, and I love lore-friendly builds, it's logical that she has huge Lore Warp. On the next level, Cassia receives her ulti upgrade, a useless ulti that you will never use, but anyways, upgrade number 4 is the best ulti upgrade that you can take at this moment on Cassia. For the next level, we're gonna learn a talent, Navigator talent again, and it's always Navigator talents as you can tell, and we're gonna pick Blood Augury. This is yet another Navigator talent that will drastically enhance Cassia's damage on abilities. And on the same level, we're gonna go for Intelligence for the characteristics. On the next level, we're gonna again learn Intelligence and Lore Warp for skill checks. And for the next level and the final upgrade on abilities in this tier 2 archetype Grand Strategist, we're gonna learn ability called Held in My Gaze. One of the best damage dealing single target abilities in the game with huge reach, and you can also make enemies immobilized if you succeed on a roll, but you will always deal damage. You cannot miss. Absolutely crazy good ability. For the next level, we're gonna learn Undam the Sea of Souls talent, again a Navigator talent. When you cast any Navigator spells on enemies, you're gonna reduce their armor, scaling of your willpower, which is already huge. So this would be a debuff for enemies. And on the same level, we're gonna learn another Navigator talent, which is called Under My Protection. You have a lot of single target buffs as a navigator for your allies, plus you're an officer Grand Strategist. Every time when you buff an ally up, they're gonna receive perma-resist to tests against a lot of annoying things in the game, especially from the warp. Very good defensive talent. For the next level, we're gonna learn Lore Imperium, cause Lore Warp is not available anymore. And on the same level, we're gonna go for Perception, cause now we got a lot of things that are scaling off Perception as well. For the next level, we're gonna take Perception again, and we're gonna learn a Navigator talent called Ebb and Flow. During combat, on turns 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, Cassia will receive an extra action points. During turn 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, Cassia will receive plus 20 to perception and scale with her spells like crazy. Okay, so either you're gonna play more or you're gonna hurt more. Very good talent, but good take at the end of the game once you start scaling up with all of these characteristics on the side, okay? These are the most important characteristics on Cassia. On the next level, and the final Navigator talent that we're gonna take would be Threads and Folds. Whenever enemies, by some miracle, resist Cassia's spells, now every ally that targets them will have increased critical chance by 20 plus 2 multiplied perception bonus. In this case, for example, this would be by 32% critical hit chance, okay, on the enemy that resisted. So even when they resist Cassia, they won't resist the rest of the team. You're gonna stump them. And for the final level and the final ulti upgrade, we're gonna pick upgrade number 1 for take and hold, which will give all allies additional dodge, parry, and armor by 20%. The best that you can extract out of the ulti you won't even need to use. Because let's be real, other companions have better ulti than Cassia. Cassia is there to deal damage, to navigate the field, to buff allies, and to steer your ship. Now, jokes aside, Cassia is one, if not the best companion in the game, strongest right now. Whether she's gonna receive a nerf or not, I really don't know, but at this moment, while I was recording this video, she is probably the most useful companion in the game. Now, what items should we use on Cassia? You need 2 staffs, both are navigator staffs. One is a bloodhound, your damage dealing staff. You're gonna equip this staff when you wanna cast abilities that deal damage. And the other staff is a staff of House Cassini, and this would be the staff that you wanna use when you are about to buff allies. So you will switch those 2 staffs when you wanna buff or deal damage. Again, this one, damage spells, this one, when you wanna cast buffs. I'll explain more in how to play. Now, what is the gear that we should use on Cassia? For the helmet, Warp Seer goggles are a really good option. For armor, we want light armor with extra dodge. As far as trinkets go, we can always go for warp, we can always go for additional warp, and for the rest of the items, every item that's gonna give Cassia willpower, intelligence, perception, flat dodge, or lore warp are the items that you want to equip on Cassia. For example, boots like these are always great, with extra dodge chance. How do we play Cassia? I already said how you're supposed to play her as an officer and what is your combo and what not. And now we got these 3, Point of Curiosity, Visions of Hell, and Held in My Gaze, as well as all of this. Once it's Cassia's turn, this is the combo from level 16 to level 36, and the best combo by far. There is no other combo in the game. This is the only one, and it works on unfair, gloriously works on unfair. She easily commands the entire battlefield. Where you cast frontline, where Abelard, Heinrix, or Ulfar are. Okay, where tanky melee characters are, that's where you wanna cast frontline. Where do you cast backline for dodge? Where Cassia is, or where Argenta is, or where Idira is, or your main if he goes for dodge, okay? Where do you cast rear over penetration? Very good on Yrliet and Argenta. Those are the fields that you cast on companions, okay? That's the first thing you're gonna do. You can cast all 3 at the starting round. After round 1, on round 2, you can only cast 1. But at the opening round, this is how you cast, and this is how you get your companions at a good starting position. So now, once you're done with all of this, the next thing that you wanna do is buff your ally with, or yourself even better, for additional willpower and additional damage. So you buff Cassia with Reveal the Light, then you buff some ally like Argenta or Abelard or Heinrix with Glimpse of Fate. So you cast Battlefield, you cast this too, this goes on Cassia, this goes on whoever you want to, basically. Make sure that you have staff for buffs. Once you do all of that, you switch to the other staff for damage. You're gonna cast Point of Curiosity. Then you're gonna cast Notch of Purpose. Okay, move enemies double, twice, basically. And then it's your choice whether you wanna debuff enemies with Visions of Hell, but I usually go with Held in My Gaze for flat damage. That's the entire Cassia combo. You can basically forget now about Lidless Stare that we were using from level 1 to level 16. All you can consider to opt in is bring it down on, for example, Argenta or on Yrliet, so they can play again. That's everything that you can consider. But the combo that I gave you, this 3, frontline, backline, rear line, into Reveal on Cassia, into Glimpse of Fate on an ally, switch staff, bam, Point of Curiosity, Notch of Purpose, Held in My Gaze, and turn, you're good to go. Trust me, she's gonna evaporate like half of the screen with all of that. And this is how you play Cassia. Idira class, operative, bounty hunter, psyker. So, our dear Idira is a heretic, psyker, operative. That's her biography, that's her build, that's her lore, and we're sticking with her lore from start to finish. Let's build her up and prepare her for Prologue and Act 1. The very first spell that she's gonna receive, or better to say the ability as an operative, Psyker operative, would be Analyze Enemies. Analyze Enemies goes in combo with Expose Weakness. You whack Analyze on an enemy single target, then you whack Expose Weakness, and you reduce, or better to say, you debuff enemies so you can hurt them more with your entire team. On the next level, we're gonna learn Logic on Idira. Then she receives, again, these two always go together, okay, Expose Weakness and Analyze Enemies, or better say Analyze into Expose, and on the next level she's gonna receive her ulti, Dismantling Attack, a boss killer ulti, okay, and this is the only way how you should use this ulti on Idira. But basically other companions have better ultis. For the very first talent, we're gonna pick Advice and Guidance. Whenever you decide to buff up Heinrix, Abelard, or Argenta, they're gonna hurt more. That's the talent, when you use Psyker abilities to buff up allies with Idira. On the next level, we're gonna learn Perception. We need huge Perception on Idira, cause we want Idira to become a bounty hunter. After Perception, we're gonna learn a talent called Nimble, cause we want dodge on Idira so she can dodge enemies' attacks. Dodge is the most important defensive stat on Idira, after all. On the next level, we're gonna learn Fatebringer talent. Every ally that you buff with Idira will now receive armor percentage, or better to say, they're gonna become tankier. For the characteristic, we're gonna learn Intelligence. On the next level, we receive an ability choice, and we're gonna pick Sensory Deprivation. What it does? Basically, it's a debuff. You debuff enemies so they can't hit as often. Very useful debuff. So, as Cassia, for example, is a buffer, Idira is the complete opposite. She's a debuffer. Okay, so Cassia, good to enhance the team. Idira, good to demolish enemies. For the skill on this level, we're gonna learn Logic. On the next level, we're gonna learn the talent called Predicted Downfall. Predicted Downfall is yet another debuff talent where enemies are getting penalties to dodge even further. For this level as well, on a talent 2, we're gonna learn Psy rating. The higher the Psy rating is, the better the spells of a Psyker are, or better to say, the more powerful your spells are, and Idira is a heretic Psyker. For the next level, we're gonna receive ulti upgrade, and we're gonna pick upgrade number 3 for Dismantling Attack. And of course, cause Idira is a debuffer, we're gonna pick additional debuffs on ulti as well now, okay? Additional armor and dodge removal on enemies. For the skill check, we're gonna pick Awareness on this level. On the next level, again, we're gonna pick Awareness, and for the characteristic, we're gonna pick Intelligence. For the next level, we're gonna pick a talent called Visions of Doom. Yet again, it's a debuff that again reduces enemies' dodge and parry. Okay, Idira is all about reducing enemy armor, enemy dodge, and operative into a Psyker debuffer. Does that very well. You can easily, and when I say easily, I mean it. If enemy has like 100% armor and 90 dodge, you can go to potatoes. Okay, 2 potatoes. They're gonna have 0/0 once you use all of the abilities and debuff them with Idira. Okay, so all allies will hurt that enemy even more. Or better, they're gonna one-shot him. That's what Idira does, debuffing. After the Visions of Doom, we're gonna take Lord Xenos for the skill checks. On the next level, we're gonna pick Prescience on Idira. Prescience would be the first buff for Idira as an operative Psyker. What Prescience does is once you buff an ally with some ability, they're gonna receive additional points into Intelligence, Perception, Fellowship, and Willpower. Very good when you wanna buff Paqal and when you wanna buff Cassia. They're gonna become very, very powerful with that. Also, it's valid to buff up Heinrix with this one. And at this level, we're gonna take, of course, talent 2, Psy rating 2. We're maxing out her Psyker power. And whenever you have a chance to upgrade Psy rating, it's a must. There is no other way, it's a must. For the next level, we're gonna pick Mind Siege as a talent. Whenever you cast anything on enemies that's gonna debuff them or do something to them, it doesn't matter what type of psyker spell it is, now they're gonna receive additional mental damage from this talent, or better to say from Idira. Very useful. And on this level we're gonna take Perception, because we're preparing Idira to become a bounty hunter psyker operative. On the next level we're gonna take Willpower on Idira, because psykers profit out of willpower. And of course we're gonna take It Will Not Die to raise maximum wounds, or better to say maximum health for Idira. And for the last level it would be Ulti upgrade, or better to say Dismantling Attack upgrade, where we're gonna pick upgrade number 4. What it does, when you surround an enemy that had a Dismantling Attack from Idira, and whenever he tries to do something, all of those melees that surrounded that enemy will whack him once. Okay, it's gonna provoke attacks of opportunity no matter what the enemy does. It's a boss killer dismantling attack. You reduce armor, you reduce dodge, and then everyone whacks enemy. So Idira is a damage dealing debuffer, operative, support, psyker. Alright, Hereticus. She's very good on a Hereticus run as well, if you decide to play as a Hereticus, of course. What is the gear that we want to use on Idira Tlas? Everything that's gonna give her willpower, perception, intelligence, enhance her debuffs is good. Everything that's gonna reduce dodge on enemies, armor on enemies is valid on Idira Tlas. Everything that's gonna raise dodge on Idira is also a good item to equip. Any item that's somehow connected to the Psy rating and that's gonna enhance Psy rating is extremely valid on Idira as well. As far as the staffs go, Psyker staffs, this is something that you want. Huge willpower, huge perception, divination, unsanctioned Psyker staffs. There's gonna be a lot of them in a game, and those are the one you wanna use once. And if you decide that you have like an action point or two above to spend, you can always equip a sniper and whack enemy from afar. But that's optional. You are there to cast spells. That's why you're there, to debuff enemies, analyze, expose weakness, and so on. Now, let's speak about those abilities and how you should play Idira in combat. So, we are preparing Idira to become a bounty hunter psyker, but from level 1 to level 16, this is what you'll get. Okay. The last 3 are from top 16 and above, so we're looking at these 4 and we're looking at this. Okay, the main damage dealing spell that Idira receives for free would be a Psychic Shriek. Classic, 1 target, 2 action points, deal willpower bonus, multiply with Psy rating, damage dealing spell from afar. That's gonna raise Veil as well, so you need to be careful when you're gonna use it. You don't wanna spam with this. How do we play Idira? The combat starts, you analyze an enemy that you wanna kill in round 1, you expose enemy's weakness, okay? And then you're gonna put blind on some other enemy, you're gonna buff an ally, perhaps, and you end the turn. If you decide to deal damage, there is the second option. You go into Analyze, into Expose Weakness, into Psychic Shriek. Okay, if you think that enemies will hurt you, okay, then it's good to go with a Forewarning and give allies additional dodge. And that's everything that you need to know about it. Now your choice is how you want to mix up those spells. Once you encounter a boss, you can always go with a Dismantling Attack and reduce armor, dodge on the boss, plus with all of those ulti upgrades, there's gonna be additional benefits on it, and that's about it. So what is the best way and how you should always start is Analyze into Expose Weakness, okay, this two, and then it's everything else. You decide how you want to do it. Offensive, defensive, debuffing, dealing damage, or buffing allies. Idira is best at debuffing enemies, and that's a fact. And now, once we're done with the operative, we're gonna make Idira a crowd-controlling bounty hunter. And the main keystone feature would be Hunt Down the Prey, where you get to target 3 preys and receive extra benefits out of targets that become a prey. On the next level, we're gonna learn Psychic Assault on Idira. Psychic Assault is a cone area attack that can deal low amount of damage, but it can stun enemies in return. On the next level, we're gonna get Unnatural Luck talent on Idira. Unnatural Luck converts regular crits on your teammates into a normal hits. In other words, they can get one-shotted. On the next level, Idira gains her ulti, Wild Hunt, that's completely useless on a Psyker, but as part of the archetype, she will still receive an ulti. On the next level is the main power spike, where Idira gets additional action point, and on the same level we're gonna go for willpower. All we care on Idira as a Psyker would be willpower as the main stat. For the next level we're gonna learn Second Sight talent. With Second Sight we're gonna increase the range of Idira's spells as a Psyker. And we're gonna learn Perception from characteristics. Now, on the ability choice for the next level, we're gonna take Foreboding. I already said Idira is full with buffs, debuffs, and damage dealing spells. Foreboding is basically an area of effect dodge for all companions in your team. On the next level, we're gonna learn Mind Thief talent. Mind Thief is what it says it is. You debuff enemy and buff yourself no matter what type of damage Psyker ability you cast on enemies. And on the same level we're gonna learn Awareness on Idira. On the next level we're opting in for Willpower, and for the talents number 2 we're gonna learn Swift Movements and give her some additional movement points. For the next level we're gonna learn Pounce talent. Every enemy that you mark as prey now with Idira, all of your companions will have additional crit chance against them. On the next level we're gonna learn Awareness, and on the same level we're opting in for Willpower. For the next level, Idira gets her ulti upgrade, Wild Hunt, and we're gonna pick upgrade number 1 for additional debuffs. In this case, Idira will reduce armor of enemies. And on that level we're gonna learn Thriving in Chaos talent. Whenever you trigger Perils of the Warp, and Idira will trigger it as a Psyker, okay, because all of her abilities are very costly, so when you trigger Perils of the Warp, the faster you'll gain your ulti. On the next level we're gonna take Trembling Flock talent. Additional debuff on prey enemies. Again, prey is the main keystone feature of the class. You put 3 prey targets at the start of every combat and you apply all of those talent effects. What Trembling Flock does, in a huge area around the enemy that you made as prey, all around will get reduced agility. When you reduce agility on enemies, you also reduce their dodge, so they're easier to hit. For the next level, we're opting in for Logic and Intelligence. And on the next level, we're gonna learn Power Conduit talent. Once you trigger Psychic Phenomena or Perils of the Warp, the next ability that you cast as a Psyker will cost -1 action point less. Cheaper spells means you can cast more during the round, useful on Idira. And for the ability and the last ability option, in the second archetype, we're gonna pick Mind Bond. Idira will share her perception, intelligence, willpower, and fellowship with the character she is connected with Mind Bond. Basically, how does this work? If you wanna respect someone, for example a Psyker, okay, and a Psyker, any Psyker, is now using willpower to deal damage. You ramp up willpower on Idira to 100 plus, and you connect with that ally with Mind Bond. But you don't invest willpower into the other Psyker, you invest 100 points into toughness. So your Psyker, main Psyker, will now have 200 HP plus, with basically 0 willpower, which deals 0 damage with spells. Okay, but once Idira connects with Mind Bond, that Psyker becomes as powerful as Idira, but with 200 HP. That's how Mind Bond works. On the next level, we're opting in for Psy rating 3. The higher the Psy rating on a Psyker, the more potent the spells are, no matter if it's buffs, debuffs, or damage dealing Psyker spells. So always when you have an option, you wanna opt in for Psy rating. On the next level, we're gonna learn Agility and give Idira extra dodge, and on the same level, we're going in for Logic. On the next level, we're gonna go with Celebrate the Kill talent. Again, this is a prey-oriented talent. When a companion kills a prey, Idira gets bonus action points and movement points, hence she can play more and she can be more devastating in combat. For the last talent, and on this level, we're gonna take Grenadier for a free grenade, and at the end we're gonna learn the ulti on the last level in the archetype, ulti upgrade number 2, which will give Idira some extra movement points and will restore all charges of prey. Now, what is the gear that we should use on Idira? The most important thing would be the staffs, okay? And in case of Idira, we would need a red bone staff. Okay, this is the staff that you're gonna basically use from Prologue Act 1 and Act 2, when you find the staff, of course. In the other hand, you can always use a sniper. But truth to be told, you will rarely use a sniper. You're gonna use spells as a psyker. You wanna place Idira in light armor, give her extra dodge, cause dodge is the most important defensive stat for Idira. As far as characteristics go, the most important, if you can find it on items, it's willpower and perception, and then it's everything else. Agility is also quite important, cause she's gonna get extra dodge from agility. Now, as far as skill checks go, Idira is great into awareness and logic. So you want items that give that. As far as boots, capes and so on, everything that is connected somehow to psi powers, to psychic abilities, those are the items that you want to equip on Idira. For example, a warp conductor gloves, psi rating, everything that has to do with this purple circle over here, that's the thing you want on Idira for items. One of the best amulets that you can find early in the game and that you can equip on Idira would be a Hereticus amulet, Gem of the Dark Vitality, for example. Now, how do we play Idira? I already explained how you use early spells and so on, but now we got Psychic Assault, Foreboding, we got Mind Bond, we got Prey. Once the combat starts, you're gonna mark 3 preys, and you're gonna abuse all of those passive talents on the preys, okay? No matter if you kill the prey or allies kill the prey, you're gonna receive extra benefits. So that's bread and butter, and what you should do. Once you target everyone with prey, you're gonna go into analyze enemies, into expose weakness, reduce their armor and dodge and whatnot, and then you can pick whether you wanna buff AoE buff allies, okay, give them extra dodge and so on. You want single target buffs, you want single target damage, or you want AoE damage. That depends out of situation and out of combat, of course. Should you use ulti on Idira, dismantling attack? No. Use ultis from other characters, don't use it with Idira, because others do way much more. Idira is a psyker, and you need to cast spells, buff, debuff, and deal damage with spells. Do not waste your ulti on Idira. Waste ulti on someone else, like Argenta, like Heinrix. Or even better, waste Wild Hunt when you have Yrliet in your team, but not on Idira. What is the best combo after you do Prey, expose weakness on enemies, analyze, and so on for the spells? The best combo would be single target buffs and then AoE buffs. And then you wait. Okay, you casted all buffs, all debuffs, and now you wait for round 2 to start with your damage dealing abilities, and you will also have like 2 action points to buff up other companions. But in the first round, you should buff up as much as you can, okay, instead of opting in for dealing damage. Seneschal Abelard Verserian build. So the very first feature, once you get Abelard, would be his charge. You charge at opponents and deal damage. The next thing that you want to take would be Athletics on level 2. On level 3, you get Endure, so you can soak up a bit more damage with Abelard. On level 4, you receive your ulti, Daring Breach, one of the best ultis in the game. You receive extra action and movement points to whack enemies by your will. Also, you will receive to pick the very first talent, and the very first talent that you wanna pick would be Thick Skin. What is Thick Skin? It gives additional parry to Abelard, so he doesn't receive damage, plus it gives deflection, so you can mitigate some damage output from enemies. Extremely good talent for the first talent. On the next level, we're gonna get Hardened Scars as the talent. In other words, once you use Endure to stoke up damage, you're gonna get Deflection as well. Okay, so the higher the deflection, the more damage you can soak up as a tank. Very important. For characteristic pick, we're gonna take Toughness. And now it's time to pick an ability for Abelard, and that would be Sworn Enemy. You deal more damage to those that you make sworn enemies in combat. Very good ability on Abelard. You are a tank, you wanna soak up as much as you can, but you want some damage output as well. Well, this is it. For skill checks, we're gonna take Athletics, and always Athletics whenever it's available on Abelard. On the next level, we're gonna take Toughness for characteristic, and for the talent, we're gonna get Combat Master. Combat Master will remove melee superiority on Abelard, or better to say, once Abelard gets surrounded by enemies, they will not have superiority against him. You want him as a tank, yeah. On the next level, for the skill check, you will take Carouse, and for the talent, we're gonna get Invigorated Hatred. Now, why do we take Invigorated Hatred? You will be close by enemies, you will make a sworn enemy out of them, and this is an upgrade for the sworn enemy, so you get even bulkier for the enemy that you sworn. Okay, so basically this is the upgrade for the sworn enemy. The next one would be ulti upgrade, and we're gonna take Daring Breach 3. Now, why do we take it? It's very simple, because of additional parry and deflection, of course. The higher parry and deflection are, the tankier Abelard is. For the next ability, we're gonna take Epicenter of Slaughter. Every time you get whacked, for the next turn, you receive additional health, better to say additional wounds. For the characteristic on the same level, we're gonna take Weapon Skill. And for the last ability on Abelard, we're gonna take a Taunting Scream. You want your main tank to taunt enemies, so they go for him and he makes a priority target out of himself. For additional talent, or better to say talent 2, we're gonna take Grenadier. Grenade for free. Okay, very good to have on every single character as well as Abelard. On the next level, for characteristics, we're gonna take Strength, because we want to hurt more. And for the skills, we're gonna take Carouse again. And now it's time to take Heavy Armor Proficiency on Abelard and equip Heavy Armor on him, because Heavy Armors provide huge deflection and huge armor percentage, and it is the only way to play Abelard efficiently on unfair difficulty, as well as all other difficulties. For the skill checks, we're gonna take Medikit this time for some better healings with medkits. On the next level, we're gonna take Weapon Skill so that we hit more often with melee. And of course, when we're level 15, we're gonna take It Will Not Die and raise wounds, or better to say, raise health by a lot. For the final ulti upgrade, we're gonna take Daring Breach upgrade 1. So we got 3 and 1. This one is very simple, it gives additional movement points, so you can switch from enemy to enemy and whack them with your weapons. Now, what is the weapon of choice in Prologue and Act 1 on Abelard? The best one to use by far would be a greatsword. You're gonna wear medium armor until you find a heavy armor, and that's gonna be at the end of Act 1. If by some chance you wanna use a ranged weapon, it's best to use something big and bulky, like a shotgun, for huge AoE damage in your second weapon slot. What's the type of armor, trinkets, and all other items and gear that you can get? You wanna take trinkets that gonna reduce charge by 1 action point, that will enhance his armor, his parry. Those are the stats that you wanna check out, okay? Or those that enhance his abilities like Taunting Scream or Endure. And it's very simple with Abelard from then and onwards. This is Abelard that wants to become a Vanguard, so pure tank, Omega tank, okay? Now let's check all of his skills and how to use them in Prologue and Act 1. Abelard's origin will give him Brace for Impact. Brace for Impact is best used when you have a lot of allies around you, you whack this and then they all soak up damage as well as Abelard, and of course it provides deflection when enemies are close by, okay? Like on 5-6 tiles away from you, and you are gonna about to get hit on the next turn, you wanna use Brace for Impact. That's his origin ability. Very good ability. Always, you will always use charge before a classic basic melee weapon attack. So your point is to charge first and then attack, not the other way around. Because by doing it the other way around, you can provoke attacks of opportunity and unnecessary hits on Abelard. Do not forget to spam Endure on every turn, because it soaks up damage. You want always Endure on Abelard, from turn to turn, as long as the combat lasts. Daring Breach is one of the best ultis in a game. Do not hesitate to whack Daring Breach the moment you have it on, and always keep the Daring Breach for Abelard and Heinrix, because they can hurt like crazy with Daring Breach. Again, Sworn Enemy that we upgraded through talents as well will help you tremendously in combat, so you wanna combine Endure and Sworn Enemy, that's 2 action points, and then you have Boots to reduce action points from charge, that's 3 action points in total, and 1 action point left for a classic melee attack. So basically this is your combo, okay? Daunting Scream is utility, and for later on when you become a Vanguard, it's a preparation for Vanguard, but these 3 spells you can always use them, and Brace for Impact is 0 action points, which means it's free. So now that we're done with Warrior, it's time for Abelard to become a Vanguard, and the keystone feature for Vanguard would be the Unyielding Beacon. A lot of his abilities will scale out of Unyielding Beacon stacks, and how does it work? Basically, the more Abelard gets hit by enemies, the bigger the amount of stacks, the stronger the Abelard is. On the next level, we're gonna pick the first ability on Abelard, and that would be a Wall of Rockrit. Wall of Rockrit is giving a full area of effect buff to all allies around Abelard. They're gonna receive less damage. And on top of receiving less damage, allies will also receive additional temporary wounds, or should I say additional health. For the first talent, we're gonna take Dueling Mastery and enhance Abelard's parry. Abelard cannot dodge, okay? He's a tank with huge armor, with huge deflection for damage mitigation and so on. So he needs parry to deflect hits, and a lot of abilities on a Vanguard will also profit towards parry. So that's why the first talent that we're gonna take is parry. On the next level is an additional talent where we're gonna turn Wall of Rockrit into Wall of Ferrocrit. Or should I say, it's an upgraded and better version of Rockrit. So Wall of Ferrocrit is the next talent to take. On the next level, Abelard receives his ulti, Unyielding Guard. Now, which one is better, Warrior's ulti or Unyielding Guard? I would still say it's Warrior's ulti as a better one than Unyielding Guard. Unyielding Guard is very situational, and in most cases you won't even have time when to use Unyielding Guard. It's only good when there's plenty, and when I say plenty I mean like 20 melee enemies on your team. You send Abelard forward and whack Unyielding Guard. Okay, that's when it's used out to parries everyone. On the next level, we're gonna gain toughness. The bigger the toughness is, the stronger Abelard is. More HP. We want him to be a tank Vanguard, after all. And of course, during this level, all companions, including Abelard, including your main, will receive an extra action point. One of the best things that can happen in a game during leveling is when you actually receive an extra action point. Extra action point means you can cast more during combat. For the next level, we're gonna learn weapon skill on Abelard so he hits more often. And on this level, we're gonna learn a talent called Daunting Defense. In other words, with Daunting Defense, we are raising Abelard's parry even further. Everything is on parry right now. Parry, taunts, toughness, tankiness. For the next level, speaking about parry, we take Defensive Stance as an ability, the second ability for Abelard as a Vanguard. Not only that Defensive Stance will proc additional parry, now it will also counter-attack, so whenever Abelard gets whacked, he's gonna parry the attack, and then he's gonna counter-attack and deal damage. Defensive Stance is one of the most important abilities on Abelard. On the same level, we're gonna go for Athletics, for the skill checks. On the next level, we're gonna take Renitent Beacon talent. Guess what we do now? For each stack of Unyielding, we are raising armor and parry percentage, so even more tankiness on Abelard. During this level, we're gonna take Swift Movements for talent 2 option and give Abelard some additional movement points. On the next level, we're gonna enhance Strength so we can raise the overall damage for Abelard. And just in case, because we don't need anything else from Talent Stew, now we can grab everything that we like and that we don't need, or that we need. Basically, it doesn't really matter anymore what you do with Talent Stew, so we're gonna go with dual weapon combat. So Abelard can switch between weapon sets, and if he wants, attacks from afar with a melta weapon, for example. On a next level, we're gonna take Enduring Shield talent. What it basically does, most of Abelard abilities from Warrior and from Vanguard will raise his temporary wounds above the maximum level. So whenever you have like 90 out of 89 or 110 out of 89 wounds, okay, every excess wound that you get, you're gonna receive additional benefits out of it, or better to say, you're gonna receive more parry. And on top of parry, you're also gonna receive armor. The numbers that you see here, once you're level 36 or so, 37, they will go up to 20 deflection and 110% and over armor. Okay, with huge parry. So these numbers are just halved once the combat starts, and once you buff up Abelard and cast all of the spells, these go double. For the next level, we're gonna take Athletics on Abelard, and for the other one, we're gonna take Toughness and raise his overall HP. On the next level, Abelard receives his ultimate upgrade, second ultimate upgrade, and we're gonna take upgrade number 1 for Vanguard. In other words, this ulti upgrade will mitigate damage that Abelard receives even further. He's an even bigger tank. As I said, everything that we do right now will get Abelard his tankiness. For the next level, we're gonna take Resilient Beacon talent. When enemies crit on Abelard, they're gonna deal way much less damage, because now Abelard will scale criticals down from his toughness bonus, and his toughness is already quite high at this moment. So he's tankier than ever. On the next level, we're gonna take Medikit on Abelard for stronger medkit heals, and we're gonna take Flat Strength so he can hurt a bit more with his melee weapon. For the final ability on the next level, we're gonna take Bulwark. So everything the defensive stance was doing for melee attacks, Bulwark does the same for ranged attacks. Now Abelard will be able to parry ranged attacks as well. What is also great is that he cannot get pushed anymore, and when you put him on a tile, he's gonna remain there under Bulwark forever, as long as you don't move him. On the next level, we're taking an upgrade for the Bulwark, which is called Covering Bulwark talent. Now, Abelard counts as full cover. A cover that deflects and parries both melee and ranged hits. Full Endure, he can go with those wounds up to 200 with 20 deflection, 110% armor, counting as a full cover, which now means that your damage dealers like Argenta or Idira or Cassia can stand behind Abelard and be in full cover and whack enemies behind Abelard, while Abelard will make himself a primary target, taunt enemies where they all gonna come and hit him and deal potato damage. That's the entire point of this build as a Vanguard. On the next level, we're gonna take additional strength and enhance Abelard's damage even further. And for the skill check, we're gonna take Carouse. On the next level, we're gonna take counter attack stance talent. Now, we're gonna buff up the defensive stance ability on Abelard, or better to say, this one. And what the talent does, it will increase damage when you retaliate, or better to say, you will hit more often when you retaliate with Abelard. On the next level, we're gonna learn Chain Weapon Expert, because these are talents number 2 and we don't need them anymore, so Abelard can now become proficient in a lot of different weapons that you're gonna find along the way. One of the better melee weapons in the game is chain weapons, because chain weapons also provide parry. And later on, you can play with a two-handed hammer, and in the other set, you can have a chain weapon that gives additional parry. And if you really want to hit someone, okay, because now you can hit with both sets because of the talents, you can also hit them with a chain weapon for 1 action point. Useful. And for the last level on Abelard, we're gonna have ulti upgrade for Unyielding Guard, where we're gonna pick upgrade number 2. Every time when you whack an enemy with Abelard, he is going to become a primary target, or better to say, this is auto. taunt, and when enemies auto-attack Abelard, they're gonna deal potato damage, which means that your allies will be safe. How your gear should look like with Prologue, Act 1 and Act 2, or better to say, before you start Act 3, and what you should have equipped on Abelard. The helmet that we want is Provocateur helmet. Armor, the bigger the armor, the heavier the armor, with bigger deflection, the better it is for Abelard. As far as these mini trinkets go, we can go with Chirurgeon Manual, and we can go with a Stimulant Injector. For Amulet, very good one to have would be Grace of the Oblivious. Hands, we got Hands for Parry, Cape for Parry, and Boots for the Unyielding Beacon Keystone feature on Abelard. This is how your gear should look like, and in one hand you can have a hammer, in the other hand you can pick between Melta, or if you want you can equip a chain weapon with a pistol and go with full parry Abelard. This is your choice how you wanna do it. And you are ready to enter Act 3 as an Exemplar, the last archetype for Abelard. How do we play Vanguard Abelard from level 1 to level 36? I already explained how it works at the start, with Endure, with Ulti, with Charge, make a sworn enemy, taunt enemies around, brace for impact before enemies attack. This is all classic, I already was speaking about it. Now, as a Vanguard, you will have a defensive stance, you will have Wall of Rakrit, and you will have Bulwark. Usually in the first round, it's very good to pop Endure, Wall of Rakrit, and Bulwark. Okay, you don't rush towards enemies, you make enemies come to you in round 1, but you protect your allies with Rakrit that becomes Ferocrit, and you protect them even further as a full cover Bulwark, where you can place Argenta behind Abelard and shoot at enemies. Once enemies get close enough, you scatter with your allies, you leave Abelard alone, you trigger up defensive stance for parries, you charge into enemies, whack Endure, hit once with basic attack, and you're good to go. If it gets really rough, you can throw a frag or use your Melta ultimate weapon and burst enemies out. But usually it won't. You are there to soak up damage. All you need to do is whack these passives. Rakrit, Ferocrit, defensive stance, counterattack, Bulwark, protect allies, Endure non-stop from round to round, and make sure to apply some buffs from other allies on Abelard as well. Everything that's gonna raise his toughness, his parry, his strength is a good way to go on Abelard. And of course everything is gonna raise wounds, that will be toughness. Abelard is very easy to play, even on unfair difficulty. The main issue with a warrior and with a vanguard when you play on harder difficulties is that this is the archetype that scales very late. So you can really feel the power, real power, after level 31, 32. Before that you will usually get one-shotted, because that's how the game is. But for the next 50-60% of the game, Warrior, Vanguard will become one of the strongest units on a map, and that will be Abelard. Your Seneschal is finally useful in Act 3, main guy and the main commander on the field, as it should be. Yrliet, La Neves, Guide. For Operative, Bounty Hunter, Sniper, Xenos, Eldari, named Yrliet. One of the best damage dealers in the game, if not the best. Biggest crits in the game are Yrliets, basically. You will get Yrliet on the world of Janus early on in Act 2, so she will be valid from the first, like, let's say 20% of Act 1 all the way up till the end game. So, Yrliet, Alket intended Yrliet to be a full damage dealing sniper. And this is how it looks like. First, she's gonna be an operative to debuff enemies, and that's what you receive for free, because you find Yrliet once she's a bounty hunter on Janus. You're already be level 20 plus and above when you find Yrliet. Okay, which means she's gonna be your level, and that would be everything learned, and we don't know if respec is gonna be available or not. There are some wasted talents, but basically Yrliet is good. She's very good as it is right now as an operative, and what you can see here we're gonna pass through it very fast. So as an operative, you analyze the enemies with Yrliet. On the next level she gains awareness, and on the next level she gains exposed weakness, where you go into analyze, into exposed weakness, into shoot. That's about it. Very simple to play an operative. Okay, you debuff enemies, analyze them, debuff them, and shoot them. That's it. For the next level she receives a dismantling attack, or better to say a boss killer ulti. One shot, boss killer ulti. On the same level she receives a sharpshooter, which is a great talent for the bounty hunter preparation through operative, okay? And then she receives perception, and then she receives extra dodge, and then she's gonna receive ballistic calculation with perception bonus checks, or should I say she receives a talent for extra damage. And then again, scaling up with perception, then she receives a precise attack that she needs as a sniper, then she receives awareness. On the next level she's gonna receive a fresh target. Again, they opted in for more damage on Yrliet. Then she's gonna receive some movement points with swift movements. After that it's ulti upgrade number 3, which gonna drastically reduce dodge and armor of all enemies in a 5-cell radius once you use ulti. Then she gets Lord Xenos, which you will really need in the game, okay? There's a lot of skill checks for Lord Xenos, and Yrliet is very good at Lord Xenos. Again, on the next level she receives Lord Xenos. Then she receives ballistic, to be more precise. Then she receives an insightful precision talent. This is an upgrade for the precise attack, so precise attack is even stronger. Then she receives Medicat. Then she receives probably the best ability that you can take out of operative for the upcoming sniper build on Yrliet, which would be a sniping spot. Whenever you're in cover, you just trigger sniping spot, and she receives multiple benefits, and she's gonna hurt more. After that, she receives a laser weapon expert, because you can play snipers as lasers and as solid, okay? Then she receives a comprehensive analysis, where she abuses those exploits on enemies. And on the same level, she goes up for the ballistic skills, which is also good. And for the next level, she receives some intelligence, and then they gave her like the most hilarious talent ever, a chain weapon expert. This is like the only wasted talent on Yrliet, to be honest. This is hilarious, and I hope they're gonna change this. Chain weapon is for melee, Yrliet is a sniper. This is so freaking funny, but whatever. Probably gonna get changed. This is the only wasted talent on the operative Yrliet at the start. And for the final ulti upgrade, it's gonna be upgrade number 4. Again a wasted upgrade, because there are better upgrades, let's be real, there's way much better upgrades for Yrliet as an operative. But no matter, now you're gonna get her as a bounty hunter once you visit the world of Janus in Act 2. And this is where you're gonna start leveling up Yrliet, when she becomes a bounty hunter, a proper sniper. She receives spray, keystone feature for the sniper. You mark 3 preys, and then you receive extra benefits whenever a prey dies. Very important on Yrliet, plus it also merges with her ulti. For the first ability, they take the bread and butter ability for every sniper, which is called Call the Bold, and this is absolutely crazy good ability on Yrliet. The next thing that we're gonna take would be Swift Sight, where in my sights will now cast only 1 action point. I'll explain how it works later on. After that, we're gonna receive the Wild Hunt ulti. Everyone that you marked as a prey, now you shoot at them and deal auto crits, no matter how freaking far they are, as long as you have them in your line of sight. Very good ulti on Yrliet, she can clear the entire map with this. On the next level, there's a huge power spike, where you receive extra action point on Yrliet, and then we're gonna opt in and take ballistic skills. The bigger the ballistics. Now don't pay attention on this, because she's under wound here, okay, she's under trauma, injured, and stats are a bit down. Just don't pay attention to this, listen to what I say. So we take ballistics to hurt more. Then on the next level we take ballistics to be even more precise with Yrliet. You don't want to miss as a sniper, you want every shot to be a hit, and preferably a crit. And on the same level we're gonna go with Call the Frail. Call the Frail is an upgrade for Call the Bold, and once you trigger Call the Bold, Call the Frail will also hurt like crazy. Okay, this is a debuff on targets, on enemies. And she's an operative that already debuffs, and now she debuffs as a sniper as well, and then she hurts a lot. For the next level, we're gonna go with Slay the Game, as I like to call a free shot, okay, which can also be used to exterminate enemies that are low HP and receive various benefits. And it can restore prey charges on Yrliet. A very good ability for a sniper. On the next level, we're gonna use Slay and Play. Now, we're gonna upgrade Slay the Game into Slay and Play. Whenever you kill an enemy with Slay the Game, the next shot that you're gonna use will be a crit. 100% crit. On the same level, we're gonna take a bit of awareness so she can spot the things around her. She's the best spotter in the game as far as companions go. And for the next level, we're gonna go with ballistics, again increase the hit chance, and now we're gonna take It Will Not Die, cause here they wasted a talent on Chain Weapon Expert. Okay, this is where It Will Not Die should have been, to raise her maximum wounds, or should I say her maximum HP, okay. So on the operative, the build that Yrliet picked, instead of a Chain Weapon Expert, it should have been It Will Not Die. And now we are wasting points on It Will Not Die, but we have to do it, okay, because it's very important. You don't want to get one shot at it. On the next level, we're gonna take Bloody Mess talent. Whenever you score a crit with Yrliet, she has a 10% chance to deal double damage. This is where the pain starts. You can easily crit for 300 damage and above. So from this moment, Yrliet can go completely insane. This is the level, the biggest power spike with this talent. On the next level, we're gonna take more awareness so we can spot, and we're gonna again take ballistics for characteristics for additional hit chance. For the first ulti upgrade on a Wild Hunt, we're gonna take upgrade number 3 and raise her damage by 300%. Repeat, yes, by 300%. This is a boss killer ulti. Okay, ulti upgrade. You don't mark all enemies as prey. You only mark enemy that you wanna kill. And if she crits on a 300% damage, it's a kill, no matter who it is. So you don't waste 3 amounts of prey, you waste only 1 when you wanna play ulti. On the same level, we're gonna take a talent called Hurt Like Hell, which gonna drastically increase critical hit damage on Yrliet. And now she's gonna hurt like hell. On the next level, we're gonna take Pierce the Armor, which does what it says it does. Whenever you score a crit on the enemy, you also gonna remove a percentage of their armor. On the next level, we're gonna take Awareness, and for the characteristic, again we go with Ballistics. For the next level, we're gonna learn Drukhari Weapon Proficiency. You want to use Drukhari weapons from Act 3 and beyond, because they're absolutely crazy good, especially with snipers. And the last ability would be Hot on the Trail for Yrliet. Absolutely crazy good ability, which gonna give her extra action and movement points whenever someone kills the target that you marked as a trail. Okay, the one that you trail. When it dies, Yrliet receives extra movement and action points. For the next level, this is what I talk about, we upgrade Hot on the Trail to become Trail and Shatter. Now, not only that you mark enemies with prey and with Hot on a Trail, now also Hot on a Trail will debuff enemies as well. On the next level, we're opting in for Ballistics again, and then we go in for Awareness for the skill checks, and then on the next level, we learn a talent called Roll Back. Step back. Whenever an enemy comes close to Yrliet and they try to hit her, she's gonna move 1 tile behind and completely avoid an attack. She's gonna receive 0 damage. Essential defensive ability for a sniper or for every squishy in the game. This is a must. For the next level, we're gonna take just a Flesh Wound. This talent will give Yrliet a 20% chance to survive a fatal attack. Okay, the attack that's supposed to kill her, she's gonna have 20% chance to survive on 1 wound. If you're lucky enough, this can pay off drastically and turn the tide of combat. And for the final level on Yrliet, as a bounty hunter, we're gonna take Wild Hunt upgrade number 1. All prey before you trigger ulti, so all of those that you marked as prey will suffer additional debuff penalty to their armor. You're gonna reduce their armor before hitting them, hence you're gonna hurt them more. Now that would be the bounty hunter. Later on, during the Act 3, Yrliet also becomes an exemplar, and for the exemplar we're gonna take that dealer, so she hurts even more because you wanna eliminate enemies, and we're gonna take a sniper expertise for additional damage. Now when she becomes exemplar, we pump up damage and damage only, so everything that's gonna remove armor from enemies, reduce their dodge chance, and raise your damage, critical hit chance, and critical hit damage is the talents that you wanna go for as an exemplar Yrliet. Okay, for the next level, for example, we pump up awareness, then we pop up pounce, enhance spray, and so on, and then we go with ballistics, again the hit chance, and then we go into the first ability option with intimidation. Okay, where your single target attacks will intimidate all enemies around, and you're gonna reduce damage dealt by enemies drastically by this. Now, as far as the next levels go, I said what to do and so on. One of the best things to take on every single companion during exemplar leveling, which we're gonna talk in the next video mostly, because this is the guide to cover Act 2 and Act 3 after all for Yrliet, would be perfection under fire. Okay, all stats go up, everything goes up like crazy. Okay, one of the best talents on every companion would be this one. Alright, so all in all, Yrliet is your main damage output in the game. She is absolutely crazy, she shoots from 15 screens away, and she hurts a lot. Especially with proper buffs, if you play as an officer, or if you bring Cassia with you, okay, or Heinrix, that's gonna give her additional action points as a biomancer and so on, she can really be very good, okay. Like Argenta is used to clear crowds of enemies with tons of damage, okay, from burst attacks and so on. Yrliet is great for single target damage, eliminating the biggest threats on the map. Argenta is there, crowd control, okay, and this one, single targets. Yrliet hurts more, but Argenta deals more DPS overall during the turn, okay. That's the main difference between these two. You need them both, very simple. What items do we use on Yrliet? The most important item during Act 2 and Act 3 would be Eye of Hecaton. Until you find this sniper, Eye of Hecaton, you will use Eldari long rifle. They hurt, this one hurts like crazy, but this one you will have it throughout most of Act 2. Okay, so these are the only two weapons that you wanna use. Also, once if you wanna shoot and you run out of ammo, it's always good to switch weapon sets, okay, and shoot with the other sniper instead of reloading. It saves you an additional turn, basically. Now, what are the items that we wanna give to Yrliet? The gear. Everything that enhances ballistics, agility, perception is that you want right now. As far as skill checks go, the most important one would be Lord Xenos and awareness. As far as others items go, everything that gives you dodge, okay, that's gonna give you critical hit chance, critical hit damage, chance to hit, chance to debuff enemies, or to upgrade some of your existing operative bounty hunter abilities is the items that you wanna equip. There's a lot of items. For example, a classic example would be her amulet that gives agility and perception, or her boots that give extra agility. The bigger the agility is, the bigger the dodge chance. The bigger the dodge chance, the less chance Yrliet's gonna get hit. That's how it works, that's her main defensive stat. Now when I say items that gonna buff her spells, her abilities, Apex Predator gloves do exactly that thing that I'm talking about. Prey upgrades. Because prey, analyze and expose is your bread and butter. As far as armor goes, you wanna keep light as a feather. Okay, armor percentage doesn't matter at all. All that matters is armor that's gonna provide dodge as a passive description. But armor, you don't care about armor, you only care about dodge. Also, there's a lot of cool helmets. Helmets that give 20% to crit chance, helmets that give 20 to ballistics, then helmets like this that give additional hit chance against Xenos enemies and so on. Those are the ones you wanna rotate. Depends who you're fighting with. Currently I was fighting Xenos and I was using interrogation goggles. If I was fighting humans, I would go with ballistics or something like that. Okay, you will need to switch those items non-stop, depends on what enemies you're fighting against. How do we play Yrliet? When you start your turn with Yrliet, you will go with hunt down the prey and pick 3 targets. That's when there is no boss. When there is a boss, you only pick a boss with a prey and you don't waste other points on others. Okay? Because your ulti will deal 300% more damage to the boss. Alright. When there is no boss, when there's a bunch of enemies, like 30 of them, okay, classic combat, classic encounters, then you mark preys, and that's the first thing that you're gonna do. After you mark the preys, you will go into the sniping spot. So you put Yrliet in a half cover or full cover and you trigger sniping spot. After you trigger sniping spot, you will trigger Call the Bold, okay? Then you will shoot with a basic attack. Then you will use Slay the Game, okay? And after that, before you receive Hot on the Trail, you will go with In My Sights. Pick an enemy in my sights, and once the turn comes, she's gonna shoot for free on that enemy. Once you get Hot on a Trail, you will finish rounds with Hot on a Trail. Both Hot on a Trail and In My Sights end Yrliet's turn. So, early game, until you grab Hot on the Trail, you finish up with In My Sights, the combo I gave, which I'll repeat immediately again, in case you get confused. Once you get Hot on a Trail, you stop playing within my sights and you start using Hot on a Trail for extra action and movement points when the enemy that you marked dies. Also, when you have problems against an enemy, you can always opt in for the operative opening with Analyze, into Expose, into Sniping Spot, into Call the Bold, into Shoot, into Hot on the Trail. Okay, or Slay the Game, into Hot on the Trail. That depends out of situation. Again, very important thing, mark all preys with Hunt Down the Prey, debuff or opt in to shoot, but do not forget to trigger Sniping Spot and Call the Bolt. And that's about it. You can shoot if you play Yrliet the right way. Minimum amounts of shots that you'll deal per round would be 3. Maximum amount of shots that you can deal per round in Act 2 and Act 3 would be from 4 to 6. So if you do 4 to 6 attacks per round, you're playing Yrliet the right way. If you do only 2 attacks per round, you're doing something wrong. Heinrix van Kellogg's build for the Inquisitor. This is the build that will convert Heinrix from Warrior Psyker Biomancer into a Assassin Psyker Biomancer. Or better to say, a Warrior Psyker Assassin Heinrix. So, through a Warrior, we are preparing Heinrix to become a melee assassin. Psyker melee assassin. On a first level as a Warrior, Heinrix receives Charge, the base ability for every Warrior class. Extremely useful from the start to finish of the game. On level 2, we're gonna get Coercion on Heinrix. On level 3, he receives Endure for free, so he can soak up more damage. On the next level, he receives ulti, Daring Breach, one of the best ultis in the game, and once you have Daring Breach, you want to use it more on Heinrix than on Abelard, for example, because Heinrix deals way much more damage. For the very first talent, we're gonna take Defensive Maneuvers, cause it gives extra dodge to Heinrix. Heinrix is a bit opposite of Abelard. Abelard soaks up damage and parries, while Heinrix uses dodge to avoid damage. So the higher the dodge for Heinrix, the better he is in combat. And we wanna focus on dodge. That's the first talent that we're taking. Dodge. The next talent we're gonna take on Heinrix, so the next level would be Enrage. We're gonna increase his critical hit chance with his agility. He uses agility as the main stat, as the main defensive stat in a game. And of course, for the characteristic, we up agility. The next thing that we're gonna take on Heinrix would be his Biomancer spell, Invigorate. A small heal that's able to remove stun, bleeding, fatigue, blinded, immobilized, staggered, and all fresh injuries. Very useful, okay, because of removals. More because of removals than because of the actual heal, but truth to be told, it's best to take this one. Because as a warrior and warrior talents, Heinrix doesn't need much. He needs his Biomancy. Again, he's a Biomancer Inquisitor. And we're sticking to the lore as well. I wanna make a lore-friendly build for unfair. The skill check upgrade we're gonna take would be Carouse on Heinrix. On the next level, we're gonna take Weapon skill to enhance hit chance. And for the talent, we're gonna take Blade of Light. To be more precise, once you take Blade of Light, you will hurt more with force weapons. Heinrix uses force melee weapons, and this is great as a start. On the next level, we're gonna take Carouse for skill checks, and down there we're gonna learn Biophysical Distortion for the next talent. What it does, you poison enemies whenever you hit them. As a Biomancer, this is good, it's damage over time, very good talent on Heinrix. For the ulti upgrade, we're going with Choice Upgrade 1. Why do we go with it? Because of the movement points. He can cover 5 screens away from him and go and reach the targets that you usually cannot reach with other characters. So Heinrix is there, preparation warrior into assassin, so he becomes a lone wolf isolator, where he's gonna pass through the entire map and eliminate the biggest threats. That's what Heinrix is. On the next level, we're gonna learn a new talent called Rigorous Training. Once you charge with Heinrix, it doesn't end his movement points, so you can charge and move away and hit something else. For the characteristic, we're gonna go for the weapon skill and raise the hit chance. For the next talent, we're gonna learn Biomancy spell, Enfeeble. What Enfeeble does? Basically, it's debuffing enemies in huge, I can't call it a circle, you can see how it is. Like a square that looks like a mini cross, but whatever. You debuff all enemies and you can hurt them more with every single companion, as well with Heinrix. Extremely good debuff. And for the next talent, we're gonna take Psy rating 1. The higher the Psy rating is, the more powerful Biomancer spells are. Whenever you have an option to upgrade Psy rating, you're gonna opt in for it immediately. For the next level, we're gonna take Toughness, because that's the only thing available right now. Toughness will raise Heinrix's overall wounds, or better to say, his overall health. After we raise health, we're gonna take Athletics on Heinrix. For the next level, we're gonna learn a talent called Desolation. Desolation is a preparation for a lone wolf, where you're gonna eliminate enemies that are alone away from your team, especially with your ulti. You're gonna deal more damage based on your agility. And next, we're gonna learn Medike as a skill check. On the next level, we're going in for Toughness, raising that health even further. And for the last talent, we will learn It Will Not Die, and raise wounds, or better to say health, even further. Now, for the final ulti upgrade, I was testing out ulti upgrade number 4, and I come to conclusion that the best one to take on Heinrix would be ulti upgrade number 1 and ulti upgrade number 2, not number 4 like I took it. So if I am to respec, I'm gonna opt in for upgrade number 2 and give him additional movement points on kills. So basically, when you upgrade Heinrix ulti, it's 1 and 2, and you ignore the bottom 2. What are the main characteristics on Heinrix? It's weapon skill and agility, one for offense, the other one for defense. Toughness is also very good because it enhances his health points. And of course, having some solid willpower on a Psyker, because Heinrix is a Biomancer Psyker, it cannot hurt. You're gonna need the stat. As far as skill checks go, he's gonna be reworked in a month from now, and I truly believe that he's gonna have huge lore Xenos, and that's what he's gonna be capable of doing, okay? But for now, how things stand, I went with Carouse with all of his skill points. Heinrix is basically not there for skill checks, Heinrix is there for combat. Other companions are far better in skill checks. What items do we want to use on Heinrix? We want a Biomancer staff and we want a melee weapon. A sword, two-hander, one-hander, it doesn't matter as long as it deals damage. Okay, now what about the stats on other gear? On amulets, helmet, armor, and so on. You want armor that gives huge dodge, it's usually light armor. You want to raise weapon skill, you want to raise toughness, you want to raise agility as much as you can with all gear. And that's your primary objective. If by any chance you want to reduce cost for some spells that he's gonna use often, like charge, you can always give him boots for charge. But again, the most important stat on Heinrix would be dodge. Pay attention on dodge when you play as Heinrix and you're good to go. The higher it is, the better he is. How do we play Heinrix? Pretty much the same as you play Abelard. You go with Endure, you rack up charge, you cast Iron Arm on yourself or on your allies to buff up damage even further and hit points. Okay. Then, before striking enemies, you cast Enfeeble, debuff them, charge into them, whack them, up Endure, and the turn. Once you have ulti, then you're free to wreck whatever you like to, because you will have a lot of movement points and a lot of action points. If, by any chance, some of your allies gets debuffed with blinded, fatigued, bleeding, and so on, you can always remove all of those negative stats with Invigorate. These 6 are the spells that you're gonna get in Prologue and Act 1. Once Act 2 starts, I'll speak about other. The bottom line is it good to have Heinrix in your team? Yes, because there's a lot of great conversations where Heinrix is the main part of all of those conversations. And the main quest also revolves around Heinrix, so he is one of the most important companions in a game, if not the most important, including Argenta and Abelard. Heinrix is there among with them. Extremely important to have in your team. So now Heinrix becomes an assassin. And the very first keystone feature for the assassin would be Seek the Opening. Enemies keep getting those openings, and when you whack them in the openings, you're gonna deal more damage. It's very easy to spot openings, there's nothing to say about it, that's the main feature of the class, very simple to play, you just hit enemies in their weak spots. If you play and there is an enemy, and there's 8 tiles around the enemy, there's gonna be an opening on some of these 8 sides, okay? So if the opening is up here, you stand over here and you whack the enemy. That's how openings work. Once you strike the opening here, another opening will appear on some of the other tiles. So you reposition and you strike him where the opening is. That's how Assassin works. On the next level, after the main keystone feature, we need to learn an ability. And the best ability by far on every assassin, no matter what subclass it was before becoming an assassin, would be Elusive Shadow. Elusive Shadow is the first one you're gonna learn. There are multiple ways how you can use Elusive Shadow, but later about it. On the next level, we're gonna learn Inevitable Enervation. We're gonna enhance aim for the opening on the assassin, where we're gonna reduce enemies' dodge and dodge reduction, so we can hit them more easily with an assassin. Very important talent. On the next level, we're gonna gain ulti, or better to say dispatch. Dispatch is a boss killing ulti, okay? This is what you whack on hard enemies, those that are hard to kill with huge dodge and huge armor. On the next level, as every other companion and every other class in a game, Heinrix will receive additional action points, and now he'll have 5 action points instead of 4. Extremely good level. I would say the biggest power spike in a game would be extra action point. And on the same level, we're gonna learn agility on Heinrix. The bigger the agility is, the bigger the dodge. The bigger the dodge, the less chance for enemies to hit Heinrix. Dodge is the main defensive stat for Heinrix. For Abelard, it was armor and deflection, these two. For Heinrix, it's dodge. So that's why we're taking agility. On the next level, Heinrix is also a biomancer, a psyker. So whenever available, we need to take a Psy rating talent. Psy rating 1, 2, 3, and 4. In this case, it's a Psy rating 2. This number that you see over here, that will be Psy rating. The higher it is, the more pain your spells deal, the more potent your buffs are. On the same level, we're gonna pick agility again and raise dodge even further. On the next level, we're gonna pick awareness. And for the ability, we're gonna pick warp speed. Biomancy, warp speed. This is where Heinrix really becomes useful. He can self-buff with additional movement points, agility, and action point, okay, until the end of combat. And he can buff all of the companions. So Heinrix, for example, buffing Argenta with this will give her additional movement points and an extra action point where she can shoot 2 or 3 times in a row during her turn. Only from Heinrix. I'm not counting officers in a team that can give her extra action points as well. And on top of it all, warp speed also gives agility. Agility equals dodge. On the next level, we're gonna take elusive speed. If the assassin is elusive at the start of their turn, they're gonna gain movement points and lethality. You know that I said we're gonna pick elusive, okay? And our assassin will be elusive non-stop. Okay, so this would be the buff for the elusive. Very important talent to take. On the next level, again, we're picking agility. And for the talent, or better to say talents too, we're picking nimble. And we gain 10% to dodge. Extra dodge again. The bigger the dodge, the stronger Heinrix is. On the next level, we're gonna pick a talent called an Eye for the Unscathed. What this talent does is when you attack enemies with full health, you receive additional dodge 20%, and Heinrix is even harder to hit. Heinrix needs to go in as a melee, and he needs to hit enemies. Aim for the openings. Sneak attacks, backstabbing, call it however you like. In this case, in Warhammer, he aims for the openings. Okay, so whenever you hit, you get dodge. On the next level, we're gonna learn weapon skill. The higher the weapon skill on Heinrix is, the bigger the chance to hit. And on the same level, we're gonna learn carouse on Heinrix for the skill check. On the next level, we got our first ulti upgrade for dispatch, and we're gonna take upgrade number 1. It's a perma debuff with dispatch. You reduce enemy armor and enemy deflection. In other words, they're gonna be easier to kill, especially big bosses. On the next level, it's time to take swift movements from talents 2 and get those 2 extra movement points on Heinrix, and we're gonna learn Lone Killer talent along the way. Now, what is Lone Killer? And why are we taking Lone Killer? Lone Killer, Heinrix, is the one with the biggest movement points in the game. His ulti provides it, his talent provides, his abilities provide movement points, and he is faster than anyone on a screen, okay? He can traverse up to 30-40 tiles during one round, okay? And he will usually be isolated behind enemy lines, as to say, okay? And this is a lone killer, or better to say, lone wolf. Heinrix becomes harder to kill when he is alone, and he is gonna be alone non-stop in combat. On the next level, we're gonna learn weapon skill, and for the skill checks, we're gonna go with carouse. For the next and final ability level, we're gonna learn Death Whisper. It's a free attack, okay? That Whisper costs 0 action points, deals slightly less damage, it can crit, it can dispose enemies, you can use it when enemies are low, you can open up fights with it, you can bleed enemies with that Whisper. Basically, it is an extra attack, and it's very important to have it on Heinrix Assassin. For the next level, we're opting in for Psy rating 3 talent, and we're gonna take Professional Acumen, where every turn, the first skill from the assassin abilities, okay, that assassin uses will cost 0 action points. On the next level, we're gonna learn Lord Xenos, because Heinrix is a Lord Xenos Inquisitor. And on the next level, we're gonna learn Bringer of Doom talent. Now, Bringer of Doom is there, so you remove armor and dodge from enemies. Additional removal. It is perfect on Assassin Heinrix. On that same level, we're gonna take a bit of Perception. For the last talent in assassin archetype, we're gonna take Grenadier and get the free grenade usage in combat. And the final level in the archetype would be ulti upgrade, and in this case we're gonna take Dispatch upgrade number 2 to stack with number 1. Number 1 additionally removes, on top of Dispatch, additionally removes armor, dodge, deflection, and Dispatch upgrade number 2 will hurt enemies by their missing wounds. Very good upgrade on Dispatch, it can one-shot. What is the gear that we should use on Heinrix? For the sword, we need to go with force, power, or chain weapons. Best to do it with force weapons. In the other hand, you can always have some pistol, whether it's gonna be laser, exotic, Drukhari, Eldari, or whatever the hell you like to use, that's your choice. And on a second slot, because Heinrix is a Psyker Biomancer, we need a Biomancy staff. Staff of Blood is very good to have. Now, as far as helmet goes, this one will give him extra Psy rating, very useful, cause he is a Psyker, after all. For armor, we want light or medium armors that will give us extra agility, aka extra dodge. Best to go with a light armor. For trinkets, everything that's gonna enhance weapon skill, okay, or everything that's gonna enhance his carouse is a good to go. For amulet, I haven't seen a good amulet on Heinrix, to be honest, out of 10-15 amulets from Prologue to Act 3. Okay, and this is the best one I could equip on him. Like, basically, there is no good amulet yet for Heinrix. There's probably gonna be. What you want if you can find an amulet with a weapon skill, with toughness, with agility, with carouse, okay, with something that's gonna enhance some of his abilities, that's the one you wanna use, basically. Now, for hands, as well, weapon skill, dodge, strength, toughness, it doesn't matter what you're gonna go with, as long as you remain in his basic characteristics and stats. I can say same for the cape, it gives flat dodge, best on Heinrix, best on assassin. And boots, we reduce action points for charge, it only costs 1. Now the last thing is how we should play Heinrix. I already explained how it works from level 1 to level 16, how you should deal with charge, with endure and so on, but now things are changing. Now you got the AoE debuff with Enfeeble, then you're gonna buff up yourself or your ally with warp speed, you're gonna buff you're gonna buff Argenta, you're maybe gonna buff Abelard, okay, with warp speed, because it's very good on them. And of course, you will use Iron Arm for extra toughness and extra damage. Once you decide who you wanna buff and who you wanna debuff, then you want to opt-in and charge into enemies, whack them once, use aim for the opening, open the weak spot, then do base ability, okay, so it's combo, buff, debuff, charge, aim for the opening, basic attack hit, into that whisper, and you finish up with elusive shadow. So you're gonna be safe during enemy's turn, they're gonna mess when they try to hit you. There is another way. Another way is all in. If you decide to go all in, then it's a completely different combo. It's self buffs into debuffs, alright? Into charge, into elusive, into dispatch. So dispatch hurts like crazy. That's your aggressive combo. I gave you both defensive and aggressive combo for Heinrix. Now, when you should start going in on enemies, especially on unfair. For easier difficulties, you're gonna dodge more often. But for example, on unfair, do not even think about going for enemies until, I would say, level 31, 32, you're gonna get one-shotted. Alright, but after level 32, Heinrix will start to dodge multiple enemy attacks and he's gonna become extremely strong. Melees basically are becoming strong post level 30, while ranged characters are strong from the very start of the game. Jae Eldari build, one of the first companions that you're gonna get after Act 1. She's a pirate, smuggler, and a very aggressive officer. So, we are preparing Jaya to become a master tactician, but this time it's gonna be aggressive master tactician, which also means that the spells that they give to Jaya, once you find her, she already has all the spells maxed out, and this is how Yrliet made her. So you only get to pick the second tier, okay, what she wants to be. Now let's see what Yrliet picked for her. I'm not sure if they will allow full respec from level 1, because you can make her like 15 times better, or if it's gonna remain like this. I really hope that you will be able to respec, and then you can create a solid officer out of her, because she's got a lot of wasted talents, especially here in tier 1. Let's check it out and what she's got. She's got voice of command and bring it down. I already explained how it works in all of my guides for the officer. Basically, it's the bread and butter keystone feature for the officer. You go with a voice of command on an ally, give them tons of buffs, and then you tell them to play again with bring it down. Extremely good combo. On the next level, she receives commerce, which is a complete waste. And then after it, she receives to me, which is an ultimate complete waste, where you call an ally, he doesn't trigger attacks of opportunity, he traverses over 20 cells, comes to you and defends you. And this can be way much better, of course. On the next level, she receives Finest Hour, her ulti, one of the best ultis in the game, and a commanding voice upgrade, which is a solid upgrade, a solid talent. After that, it's Fellowship, which she's gonna need as an officer, master tactician, and then it's Dodge. This is all fine for the talent, it's Dodge. On the next level is the Lasting Impression, where Voice of Command remains, half of the bonuses remain until the end of combat, which is also a solid talent. Then it's the Fellowship for the characteristic. Then she receives a very good ability called Move, 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 where you can move allies, and you can also give them extra dodge with a correct talent later on, if they're under the voice of command. And she receives extra movement points with swift movements. After that, it would be March for the talent. For some reason, they again gave her a talent for extra movement points, and you don't need to move that much as an officer, to be honest. It's way much more important to position well. Then is the commerce for the skill checks, and then is the ulti upgrade on the next level with the Finest Hour, upgrade number 1. Allies will deal officer fellowship bonus divided by 2 damage, and until the end of combat, perma effect of the voice of command. Not bad upgrade on her, I guess, but it can be better, to be honest. On the next level, they gave her persuasion, which you don't need basically, and because your main would probably be with persuasion, yeah. And also Cassia has very good persuasion as well. And on the same level, she got ballistics, which is fine. I guess they wanted to make their idea behind Jaya Hildari as a pirate officer was to be an aggressive officer, okay? The officer that rarely buffs allies, but the officer that's gonna be able to shoot from afar on enemies, okay? So basically how they intended you to play Jaya is 1 or 2 buffs and then you spend points to shoot. While when I created my main officer, he was all about buffing. From first to the last action points, all about buffing, playing again on allies. On the next level, she receives Lead by Example, which gonna bring her fellowship up by +5 whenever she makes an attack. Again, I believe it's a wasted talent. And then it's the Ballistics, which is fine. And then at the end, it's Thank God They Came, which you can use on other allies for additional damage. And then they gave her Solid Projectile Weapon Expert and Laser Weapon Expert. I mean, you either play with one or the other, you just don't play with both. For the next level, they gave her Exemplar of Heroism. Whenever a heroic act is used in combat by any character, after next attack will cost 0 action points. As I said, they intended Jaya, okay, to be aggressive, to shoot non-stop as an officer. The interesting idea, but bad talents. And on the same level, she got Persuasion, which is also a waste. Then they gave her Willpower. Why on earth would they give her Willpower? This is like the biggest waste right now. And the Laser Weapon Expert. And at the end, it's the upgrade number 3 for ulti, with fellowship bonus to temporary wounds. I hope that you will be able to respec, and I hope to see her polished out, to be honest. They got 14 more days to do so, but that's how Jaya is right now. And this video and this build could easily change along the way. Once it does, I'll make sure to update. So now she becomes Master Tactician, and this is where you can kinda fix things if you really wanna play Jaya Hildari like this. So she receives her bread and butter tactical advantage stacks, and then it's press the advantage which gonna give her additional damage for each stack of tactical advantage. Now how tactical advantage works: no matter what happens on a map, when someone dies, when someone shoots, buffs, and so on, it depends on the talents drastically, the amount of enemies on the map and so on, you will get those tactical advantage stacks, and once you trigger press the advantage for each stack, you gain a benefit. You can have up to 99 stacks, okay, it can be very good once you start casting abilities. The next level for Jaya Hildari, and the thing that I took, was finish the job. Officer will shoot for free at every enemy that's under 50% of HP. Okay, very useful because they intended Jaya Hildari as an aggressive officer, so I'm sticking with lore. Aggressive pirate, officer, master, tactician. So from finish the job on the next level, we're gonna upgrade finish the job with perfect finish and give her 75% chance of a crit. So she always crits and always kills and finishes enemies that are under 50% of HP. That's an aggressive officer. On the next level, she receives an ulti-directed firestorm, and then it's the huge power spike with action points increase, and then we pick ballistics because we wanna be precise when shooting with Jaya. Okay, again we're gonna pick ballistics on the next level, and here we're gonna take at the edge talent for Jaya Hildari as a master tactician. Basically I'm taking it more because of extra damage to targets with less than 50% HP than for the healing part. This is a healing and damage dealing talent. Okay, I'm taking it because of the damage, because it's gonna stack at the edge, will stack with this too. So now she is extremely aggressive. On the next level we're gonna take Linchpin. A linchpin is there so you can trigger your ultis faster. The faster you trigger ulti, the stronger you are. Very simple. That's the ability. And on the next level, we're gonna take in the Hero Footsteps talent. Whenever some of the allies uses ulti, Jaya will get an extra turn with extra action points and movement points. Now Linchpin provides, okay, along with tactical stacks and so on from a master tactician and the resolve and everything that goes towards ulti, Linchpin will provide fast ulti, and then she will play again after an ally uses ulti. No matter what ally uses what ulti, it really doesn't matter, she's gonna play again, which again goes towards the build that she becomes aggressive and she shoots non-stop. On the same level, we're gonna take lore Imperium. After that, on the next level, we're gonna take agility because Alcat forgot that she is very squishy and they never gave her agility during officer leveling. So now in Master Tactician I'm trying to fix things up a bit and give her agility so she receives dodge. Okay, she can actually dodge something instead of getting hit. She's already very squishy, right? You need to be able to dodge. So that's why the point going to agility, and then they also forget to give her, they gave her solid weapon expert and laser weapon expert. It should have been either solid or laser, and then it should have been it will not die to raise her health, so again she doesn't get one shot it. Okay, now this is the time we're gonna take it will not die. After that level we go to the next one and we're gonna take Reliance talent. That's the upgrade for Linchpin. Okay, you can trigger Linchpin earlier. Very good talent for the Linchpin. The next one goes to lore Imperium, and again we're gonna go into agility and give her extra dodge chance to avoid enemy attacks. After that is the ulti upgrade, where we're gonna take upgrade number 1 for directed firestorm. As I said, we play her to be aggressive. This upgrade number 1 will make her shoot again. Her and the ally, they'll additionally shoot on top of the ulti shots. Okay, so basically it's triple shot during a round from Jaya. On a next level, we're gonna take Hidden Advantage. Hidden Advantage will give her more tactical advantage from her Fellowship bonus. The more stacks of tactical advantage you have, the more Jaya Hildari hurts. On the next level, we're gonna take Lore Imperium for skill checks, and we're gonna take Fellowship for characteristics, because again, she's an officer. Master Tactician, you need huge fellowship as well. For the next level, we're gonna pick a free grenade with Grenadier Talent Tier 2, and we're gonna learn the final ability called Assign Objective. We're sticking with aggressive Jaya. Okay, so we're giving her Assign Objective. You assign enemy as the main target, alright, and now everyone will gain momentum fast. The bigger the momentum, the faster the ulti, plus those that kill the assigned objective will gain perma +5 to all characteristics until the end of combat. And for the next level, we turn the primary objective, okay, the assigned objective into primary objective talent. Now the target that's assigned as a primary objective with assigned objective will receive 7% extra damage from everyone. Okay, again, aggressive Jaya, aggressive officer. For the next level, extra dodge with agility, and again, Lore Imperium for skill checks. Then we're gonna learn the talent on the next level, which is called Stacking the Deck. To put it short, whenever you do something with Jaya, she's gonna receive stacks of critical hit damage. You're gonna shoot with Jaya non-stop, and you want crits, critical chance and critical damage. On the next level, we're going in with Fellowship, and we round everything up with Talent Tier 2 talents. Characteristic training into ballistic shows she's gonna be more precise with ballistic weapons. And for the final level, we go with ulti upgrade number 2, where you can use ulti multiple times per combat, but only once per turn. That's the best that I could do to fix Jaya Hildari for unfair. Again, there's around 5 or 6 wasted talents for an officer here, but I get the idea and how Yrliet wants you to play Jaya, not like a classic officer. They want you to play Jaya as an aggressive officer. And there is a huge difference between a defensive officer, support officer, and aggressive officer. You basically, for one archetype, have 3 different builds. And then you add Master Tactician that can also be defensive, aggressive, or supportive. These are both aggressive builds on Jaya. Both tiers are aggressive. Now what you should use on Jaya? Basically any weapon that's laser or solid, because that's what they gave to Jaya. So I'm using full hammer to knock enemies out with solid projectiles. There is a pistol with huge armor penetration for bulky and tanky enemies, and there is a pistol with less armor penetration but with damage over time for squishier enemies. So you cover all types of attacks, area attacks, damage over time attacks, and burst attacks with her weapon set. Okay, could you play with a laser rifle, a solid projectile sniper, because there are a lot of those in the game as well. Let me see if I got one. For example, laser swarm protector. You can play with that one as well. You can play with solid Mesoa pattern sniper rifle on Jaya as well. This is your choice how you wanna play. And for her melee weapon, we're sticking in with Eldari Chainsword in case some enemies get close to Jaya so she can finish the job. Now what are the items, the gear that we should use on Jaya? Basically we want to use everything that's gonna give her dodge, that's going to give her agility, ballistic skill, critical chance, critical damage, anything that will enhance officer spells, abilities, or master tactician spells and abilities. You know what we took: assign objective, linchpin, play again with bring it down, voice of command, move. So items that provide benefits towards those abilities are the items that you want to equip, no matter if it's trinkets or not. Okay, amulets and so on. Also, armor, you should carry light armor with huge dodge chance. And at the end, as far as items go for the skill checks, Jaya is kinda great in skill checks, in tech use, in persuasion, in lore Xenos, in lore Imperium, In commerce, she's absolutely great in skill checks, a real officer. Okay, even though she's an aggressive officer, she's still good at skill checks, plenty of good skill checks. So anything that's gonna provide those skill checks from items is also valid on Jaya Hildari. When you play Jaya Hildari, you rely on momentum, on aggressive play, with building up your ulti as fast as you can. And once allies trigger ulti, you play again with Jaya to stack up more momentum and bring ulti back, okay? That's what aggressive officer is, non-stop ultis. And that's how they intended you to play Jaya Hildari, if you wanna stick with the lore. How do we play Jaya Hildari? You're gonna get Jaya Hildari in Act 2 on Footfall, which means that you will have all of this available and all of this available, okay, from the officer. And then we get all of this during the Act 2. So, what do we use, how do we use? When you wanna start aggressively, you usually want to go with press the advantage, okay, tactical, you use that, and you accumulate stacks, and then you're gonna trigger linchpin to give momentum to allies, you're gonna assign objective, and you're gonna shoot at someone. On the next turn, again you go same, repeat, but then you have finished the job, okay, which deals a lot of damage and it can one-shot enemies below 50% of HP. The moment when you have ulti, you pick between Directed Firestorm and Finest Hour, which is both are good ultis basically. If you want some other one to hurt, for example, I don't know, Argenta or Yrliet, you can always go with Voice of Command, into take aim, into bring it down. Now that depends whether you can reach enemies with your weapons or not. If you're opted in to play with a sniper or with rifles, you'll usually reach enemies from afar. If you will go with pistols like I did over here for plenty of different damage, okay, different types of damage, then you will use officer abilities a lot, as well as master tactician abilities. Now if you opted in for big weapons, then you're usually gonna use only master tactician abilities, which means the entire officer is useless. And that's why I gave her pistols, to make officer useful and master tactician useful. Do not forget to use and abuse assign objective and finish the job if you wanna play with Jai. It's very important. And do not forget to trigger press the advantage whenever you can, on every round. I have to say it again, she's not a supportive officer, she's an aggressive officer. Your point is to build up momentum fast and trigger ultis as fast as you can while dealing damage to enemies. Magesh Paqal build. This build is for the operative bounty hunter Paqal, or should I say trapper Paqal. So we are preparing Paqal to become a bounty hunter. And during Prologue and Act 1, the very first thing the operative learns is to analyze enemies. You pop up analyze enemies and you apply stacks on them. The bigger the amount of stacks, the more pain you'll deal. On a second level, we're gonna learn tech use, cause Paqal is there for the tech use skill check mostly. On the next level, Paqal receives expose weakness. Extremely great, especially when you analyze enemies and then you use all of those stacks and reduce enemies' dodge, parry, and armor. In other words, the entire team profits out of exposed weakness, and it is one of the best basic skills in the game. This is how you win fights, by debuffing enemies. On the next level, Paqal receives his ulti, Dismantling Attack, pretty much the upgraded version of expose weakness. Yes, you can put analyze into expose weakness into Dismantling Attack and leave enemies literally with 0 chance to dodge and 0 armor, so you're gonna hurt them a lot. Yes, you can do it. Paqal is a boss killer, but not a solo boss killer. Paqal is there to reduce all stats on a boss so other teammates can finish the job. The first talent that we're gonna learn would be passive learning, where we analyze enemies just by having them in our sights. Extremely good. The more stacks they got, the bigger the debuff for exposed weakness. On the next level, we're gonna learn perception. Why perception? Because we are preparing Paqal to become a bounty hunter. For the talent, we're gonna learn combat master. On the next level, for the talent, we're gonna learn joint offense. The entire team benefits out of joint offense. Everyone that you analyzed, and you're gonna multi-analyze with passive learning, so every enemy that you can basically see with Paqal will get analyzed, and your entire team will hurt more against those enemies. For the next thing, we're gonna learn intelligence. Again, we're learning intelligence and perception for a reason, because we're gonna play a trapper bounty hunter Paqal. For the next level, we're gonna learn joint analysis, an active ability that will allow all of your allies to remove exploits from enemies and hurt them even further. Skill checks, of course, you will always take tech use whenever you can. For the next level, we're gonna learn combat insight talent. We're slowly preparing Paqal for the late game during the early game, so you're gonna receive an additional action point later on. And for the next talent, we're gonna learn power weapon expert. On the next level, there's an ulti upgrade, and we're gonna upgrade dismantling attack with upgrade number 2. Not only that we are reducing dodge and armor with dismantling attack, now we are reducing enemies damage as well, no matter if they're melee or ranged. For the skill choice, we're gonna pick Medice on this level. On the next level, we're gonna go into logic, and of course we will take perception for a characteristic. For the next level, the next talent we're gonna learn would be weak body, weak soul. To put it up short, when you expose weakness, you're also gonna remove some health points out of enemies. Very good. Merges with all Paqal abilities. For skills, we're gonna learn logic again. For the final active ability, we're gonna learn tactical knowledge. When it gets rough, tactical knowledge can buff your allies around you. Well, they're gonna receive extra armor. It depends on the amount of stacks of analyze on enemies. For the talent, we're gonna give Paqal some additional movement points with swift movements. On the next level, we're gonna learn the improved tactics. What it does, it upgrades tactical knowledge into improved tactics. Or better to say, you're gonna have a better version of a tactical knowledge. For characteristics, we're gonna learn intelligence. On the next level, we're learning ballistic skills, so we can shoot more often and be more precise. And the final talent upgrade in this archetype of operative will be plasma weapon expert, because you're gonna use a lot of plasma weapons as well. The last level belongs to the ulti, an ulti upgrade of dismantling attack, where we're gonna take upgrade number 3. What it does, basically, it additionally debuffs all enemies around the dismantling attack target. Okay, where they're gonna receive penalties to dodge and armor by 15%. What is the gear that we want on Paqal? For weapons, it's quite simple. We want Tech Magus Axes as much as we can, and we want a plasma gun or plasma pistols for the start. Okay, where they offer multiple shots per weapon. As far as other gear goes, boots, helmets, armor, and so on, you want huge armor, but it has to be medium for the start. In all of the other trinkets, you should aim for Medice, Tech Use, and Logic. Now, as far as characteristics go, Paqal is all around character, okay, but he does profits the most out of intelligence and perception. So those would be the stats you should pay attention to, especially if you can find it on gear. Paqal is a very slow companion, so boots that give extra movement points are pretty much the best ones for the start. Now, how do we play Paqal? Paqal is by far the most complicated companion to learn and master. Your bread and butter opening move on every turn in every combat, it's gonna be to analyze enemies. Pick a target that you want to eliminate in the first round, analyze him, and then expose his weakness. So you and all of your team will be able to deal a lot of damage and kill that target in round 1. This is your main focus and your main job as an operative, to debuff enemies. If you think that enemies are way too strong, you can always use his origin ability, which is called Machine Spirit Communion. For it short, and what it does, it buffs your party and it debuffs enemies in a huge area of effect. Your allies will dodge more often, while enemies will dodge less. Whenever you can, you wanna whack joint analysis so everyone hurts enemies more around you. Once you encounter a big enemy, okay, mini boss, boss, or some huge elite, you wanna use dismantling attack and completely reduce their armor. Now, what is the combo usually for those bosses? You keep Paqal safe under some full cover, you analyze the boss, you expose his weakness, and you whack him with dismantling attack. Whether it's gonna be ranged or melee, doesn't matter. You don't look at the damage, you look at the debuffs. And then your team can burst out the boss. This is Paqal's job, to debuff all enemies on the map, especially tough enemies. That is, until he becomes a bounty hunter. And then his job will be to have huge crowd control by immobilizing enemies and sharing offensive stats with allies as well. And now Paqal from operative becomes a bounty hunter. And the first keystone feature of the bounty hunter would be hunt down the prey. You mark 3 preys at the start of every combat and you receive a lot of benefits. There are talents that will enhance these benefits, and there are also talents that can share the benefits with your allies when allies kill Paqal's prey. Overall, you should always try to mark the hardest enemies during combat with prey. Okay, so you pick 3 hardest targets to kill and you mark them, or better to say, check the tier of opponents. The higher the tier is, that's where the prey should go. You just mark them and focus them, and you will see what happens with all of those benefits later on. In other words, you can easily receive a lot of additional health and a lot of additional critical hit chance and critical hit damage when you kill those preys. On a Trapper Paqal, this is not that important, and it's best to share the prey with other allies with specific talents. On the next level, since this is a Trapper Paqal, the very first thing that we're gonna learn is set the trap. Trap costs only 1 action point to cast, it scales out of perception and intelligence, so it's gonna scale like crazy, and it can immobilize enemies. Or should I say, the trap can easily deal solid amount of damage and make enemies completely useless in combat. And that's why I call this a Trapper Paqal. Also, you can place multiple traps in a combat area. On the next level, we're gonna learn Pounce as the talent. All allies that are with Paqal in a team will now have increased critical hit chance against targets that you put prey with Paqal, or better to say, the targets that you marked as prey. For the next level, we get the ulti, Wild Hunt, which is completely useless on Trapper Paqal, but that's what you get as a bounty hunter. For the next level, is the biggest power spike and action point increase by +1, which means a lot to Paqal. Paqal probably benefits the most out of all companions with extra action points, because he is there to debuff enemies, to analyze, to expose weakness, to place a trap, to do multi-buff, multi-debuff, and so on. So he profits really a lot out of extra action point. And on the same level, we're gonna learn Perception. Whenever we can, we're gonna opt in for Perception and Intelligence, so we can max out trap damage. On the next level, again, we're gonna go with Perception, and we're gonna take It Will Not Die and raise Paqal health, or better to say, we raise Paqal wounds. For the next level, we're gonna learn a new ability, and we're gonna learn Join the Pack. This is a full support buffer debuffer Paqal with traps, and now with Join the Pack, he becomes an even better buffer. You don't have to think much with Join the Pack, you just trigger Join the Pack, allies will receive a lot of benefits against prey, and we're gonna stack up all of those allies' benefits on prey with talents as much as we can, as well as with abilities. Join the Pack is one of those. On the next level, we upgrade Join the Pack with Join in the Kill. In other words, Join the Pack will deal even more damage from all allies, okay, that are infected by Join the Pack. And on the same level, we're gonna learn Tech Use, the main skill check for Paqal. On the next level, we're gonna go in for Intelligence, and we're gonna take a free grenade with Grenadier, or talents too. For the next level, we're gonna learn Trembling Flock talent. Whenever you take out a prey, all enemies in a 10 cell radius around the prey will receive agility penalty, or should I say, they're gonna lose dodge. Okay, it's yet another debuff for enemies. For the next level, we're opting in for tech use skill check, and we're opting in for intelligence as a characteristic. On the next level, Paqal receives his first ulti upgrade, and what we're gonna do is again debuffs on ulti as well. So upgrade number 1 for the Wild Hunt. As you can tell so far, Paqal is full with debuffs. He destroys enemies by reducing their armor and their dodge, and all allies around him hurt those enemies even more because Paqal is in the team. With upgrade number 1, we reduce armor from enemies. And preparing for Exemplar and for more powerful weapons on a talent 2, because we don't need anything else right now in the game, we're gonna learn heavy weapon proficiency and prepare Paqal to be able to carry a heavy weapon. On a next level, we're gonna learn a talent called Rollback. Whenever someone tries to hit Paqal with a melee, Paqal will step back and avoid attack completely. It can happen only once in combat, but it's extremely good to have. You can keep Paqal safe if melees come close. For the next level, we're gonna go with tech use for the skill check, and we're gonna go with ballistic for the characteristic, so Paqal becomes more precise with ranged weapons. But all of this is basically preparation for Exemplar now. For the next level, we're gonna go with advanced talent 2 tier with tech use and raise tech even further. And for the last ability, we're gonna learn Hot on the Trail. This can be called as a buff on allies, or better to say as another debuff on enemies. Okay, whenever you end the turn, you should end it with Hot on the Trail, because it's free, and Paqal just ends his turn once you cast this, and now the enemy that you marked as a trail, and God forbid if you mark as both as prey and trail, that enemy will usually get bursted out from your allies extremely fast. You will drastically increase hit chance on enemies that you cast Hot on the Trail. For the next level, we have a talent, and we're gonna take Trail and Shatter. Upgrade for Hot on the Trail. Okay, immediate upgrade for the ability. Now you can cast no matter how far enemies are, and Hot on the Trail will also remove armor, an ultimate debuffer. For the next level, we're gonna learn ballistic skill, and for the skill checks, we're gonna go with tech use again. For the next level, we're gonna take Celebrate the Kill talent. Whenever some of your allies kills a prey that you marked with Paqal, he's gonna receive extra action points and movement points immediately in that round, once the ally ends their turn, those that kill the enemy. Very good, Paqal can basically play twice in a turn. For the next level, we're gonna take characteristic training in talents 2, and we're gonna enhance strength, slowly preparing Paqal to carry a heavy weapon once he becomes an Exemplar. And for the final level is the ulti upgrade, Wild Hunt upgrade. We're gonna take upgrade number 2. This upgrade will give us back prey charges. Okay, so now we can basically have 6 prey charges. Once Exemplar level comes for Paqal, I'll go in more detail, but basically as long as you stick with ballistic, strength, toughness, intelligence and perception, you're good to go. Paqal is know-it-all companion, alright? And he benefits a lot out of basically all characteristics. The only thing that you should keep focus on for the skill checks would be logic and tech use, and you're good to go as an Exemplar. As I said, in another video, we're gonna cover Exemplar as well. Now, what items should we use on Paqal? For the melee weapon, we're gonna use Omniscion X, of course. And for the ranged weapon, the best one to play with would be with a plasma gun. You can use a plasma pistol as well at the start, but later on, when you find a plasma gun, this is the one you want to use. For the helmet, it's very good to have full immunity to crits. For armor, once you become an Exemplar and you have enough strength, we're gonna learn heavy armor proficiency, and we're gonna equip a heavy armor on Paqal. But at this moment, the best that you can go with is medium armor. Paqal goes from squishy to very squishy into a full mega tank once he becomes an Exemplar, of course, but right now it's a medium armor. for Prologue Act 1 and Act 2. Even in Act 3, it's still a medium armor. At the start of Act 4, you're all in with heavy armor. As far as trinkets go, everything that can enhance your exposed weakness from operative, exploits, tech use or logic is the good trinket to equip. For the amulet, I picked the slowed amulet. When you hit a target with a single shot, you're gonna slow them down. And by far, the best gloves on Paqal would be plasma shaper gloves. It gives tech use plus 10 and your plasma gun weapon damage goes by plus 3. Very good. Considering that you shoot with a plasma and you have area attacks, you will also profit a lot out of Zealot Cloak. And for the boots, Paqal is a very slow character, he benefits a lot from movement boots. How should we play Paqal? Now everything that I said from level 1 to level 16, analyze into expose, that all still applies. You're always gonna open up, even with a second tier archetype, with analyze and expose. After analyze and expose, you will go and mark 3 targets, then you're gonna throw a trap, okay? Then you're gonna go with join the pack, and then you're gonna pop hot on the trail on some enemy. And that's your first turn. On a second turn, you can go with Machine Spirit Communion, okay? You're gonna pop join the pack again, and you can shoot with a plasma AoE damage, for example. Or you can again go with analyze, expose, into everything that I said, full combo. You should ignore ulti and use ulti with other companions. Paqal is there to control the field with set the trap. Just don't forget the combo, cause everything is basically free and cheap. Analyze, expose, pray, trap, and hot. That's about it. Everything else is optional what you're gonna use. Whether you're gonna shoot if you have action points, whether you're gonna buff up, when you're gonna with tactical knowledge, or with joint analysis, all of that is optional. The ones that I've said, those top 5, always play them on every round, and Paqal will debuff enemies like crazy. He's very simple to play, and he's extremely useful, especially against tougher enemies, against bosses, okay? Paqal is basically a boss killer that doesn't do damage, but he just annihilates them, okay? If they're like 95 in 2 rounds, they're gonna be 0-0. That's how much Paqal will debuff those higher tier enemies. Now, can you play Paqal to deal damage as assassin? Of course you can, and I will provide that guide as well. I believe that he is the best like this, when he can control the field, because you got a lot of companions that deal damage. You don't need Paqal to deal damage as well, I guess. There's really no need for it. And I kinda always find very useful when I have a companion that can reduce enemy stats drastically. And Paqal is the guy to do it. Sister Argenta build. This is a marksman arch militant Argenta. Your main damage output in the game. The very first ability you'll receive as Argenta would be run and gun. You shoot for free and you can move tiles and go into half cover, full cover, and whack enemies with a small penalty. Extremely good keystone feature on Argenta. On level 2, you wanna learn Demolition. On level 3, she will receive Revel in Slaughter. When she kills 3 enemies, you just click Revel in Slaughter, and for 1 action point, you're gonna gain additional damage, additional critical hit damage, and additional dodge. One of the best skills in the game, especially for a marksman. On level 4, Argenta receives Military Excellence ulti. Whenever you have military excellence, do not hesitate to use it. You shoot as many times as your weapon's rate of fire. So basically, the bigger in the item description, the bigger the rate of fire is, the stronger Argenta ulti is. Because Argenta is a bolter user, and I know a lot of players will say how you can play with Melta, how you can play with Flamer, and so on. Look at the portrait. She's holding a bolter. And when I say use a bolter, trust me, use a bolter. And that means you're gonna learn Bolt Weapon Expert for a 10% additional armor penetration. And you will equip 2 bolters at the same time on Argenta. Not a bolter and a flamethrower, not a bolter and Melta, 2 bolters, if you can. And later on, we're gonna prepare Argenta with a classic mini bolter and a huge bolter. Okay, so go for the bolter. After the bolt weapon expert, we're gonna go with ballistic skill. Always take ballistic skill whenever possible. The higher the ballistic skill, the more often you'll hit with Argenta, and you wanna hit because you'll be using burst fire non-freaking stop. And we are preparing Argenta to become an arch militant. For the talent, we're gonna take unpredictable on Argenta. The bigger the agility on Argenta, the more often she'll crit, and you wanna crit a lot with Argenta because she hurts, especially with burst fire. On the next level, we take ballistic skill again, and we're gonna take rapid fire. Instead of firing 4 bullets with your bolter, you're gonna fire 8 once you click on rapid fire. One of the best skills you can take on Argenta. For the next level, we're gonna take agility, raise her dodge, and enhance crit chance. For the talent 2, tier 2 talents, we're gonna take nimble, enhance dodge even further. On the next level, we're gonna upgrade rapid fire over here with bullet hell. In other words, your rapid fire won't mitigate damage anymore. You're gonna deal exactly as you're supposed to deal without a penalty from rapid fire. So your burst attacks will hurt like crazy. For the skill check, we're gonna take demolition. And you always wanna take demolition with Argenta from this point on. When available, of course. For the ulti upgrade, we're gonna take upgrade 3. Very simple, you'll hit more often and you'll have additional penetration on enemies. Very, very good upgrade on Argenta and Argenta's ulti. And now, because Argenta is swallowing ammo, because you're gonna use bursts non-stop and then run a gun to play again, and then the officer gives her an extra turn, you run out very fast. Okay, and you need to reload. Reload costs 2 or 3 action points. With rapid reload, it's going to be free for the first time, and then it costs 2 action points less. From that moment on, it's gonna only cost 1 action point to reload the weapon. It's a must, and you have to do it, especially while playing on unfair. For the characteristic upgrade, we're gonna take agility. Again, additional crit chance and additional dodge. And for the final ability, we will get dash. I'll explain how dash works later on. For the skill check, this time we will take awareness, because demolition is not possible at this moment. And you want awareness, so you have someone in your team that can spot hidden stuff around you. And the next thing that you want to learn would be perception. After that, it would be swift movements. We give extra movement points to Argenta. Movement is as equally important in Rogue Trader as action points. I can say action points are a slightly bit more important, but still movement points are extremely important. So that's why the swift movements. For the next level, we're gonna learn second skin. Medium armors won't apply penalty to dodge anymore, which means Argenta will be tankier in medium armor, and she's gonna dodge more often because there won't be any penalty. Very good talent. And for the tier 2 talents, we're gonna take Grenadier, so you can whack a grenade for free. Alright, Grenadier is useful on every single companion in the game. For the final talent, we're gonna take It Will Not Die. And we're gonna raise maximum wounds on Argenta, or better to say health. And for the last one, we're gonna take awareness. The last level is ulti upgrade in the marksman archetype, and we're gonna take upgrade 2, increase the rate of fire. Again, the bigger the rate of fire is on marksman, especially on Argenta, the stronger she is. You want huge rate of fire. And this provides it with ulti. Your ulti will hurt a lot. What items do we want on Argenta? We want critical chance, critical damage, we want medium armor, we want bolters, and we want utility items that can provide awareness or demolition. And that's about it. The stats that are green, that's the one you want to go for. All of the stats that you see that are higher, 80, 80, 70, 50, 50, those are the stats that you want on Argenta and on all Argenta gear, basically. Now, how do we play Argenta as a marksman? First, you wanna hang onto a half cover or full cover. Then you wanna trigger rapid fire, and then you wanna use burst, and then you wanna use run and gun, and then you wanna use single attack. That's the combo, main combo for Argenta. Rapid fire, burst, run and gun, single shot, and repeat. If you have an officer, you can always trigger Revel of Slaughter once you kill 3 enemies to hurt even more. And that's it for Argenta. Once you have dash, if enemies get close to Argenta, you can move out. You don't trigger attacks of opportunity, and then you shoot enemies again. It's 0 action points, it's extremely good, and there is no second thoughts about it. It's a must. This is your escape mechanism. Also, if you can't reach some enemies with a bolter, sometimes when you waste all of your movement points, you will be able to get line of sight and shoot when you use dash. Okay, do not hesitate to use Argenta's ulti, especially when there's a lot of enemies, because she deals a lot of AoE damage. And with this ulti, you wanna whack a bullet into every enemy and keep the less time available to fire for the burst attack. So it's single shot, single shot, single shot into burst fire. That's the maximum output of ulti. And you wanna whack every enemy that you can with one single shot, so you score multiple crits. When do you use Warhammer? To gain momentum. When you gain momentum, you can use ulti more often. Okay, now how do you use Warhammer? When enemies are close by, so you have maximum amount of momentum. Or better to say, get that ulti faster. Do not use Warhammer outside of enemies, okay, only when they get close. That would be it for the prologue and Act 1 for Argenta. Again, if it works on unfair, it will work on all other difficulties as well. She is your main damage output in the game. You want to have an officer to support Argenta, and then you're gonna see how much she actually deals. We're gonna continue this for Act 2 and 3 when Argenta becomes an arch-militant. And now that we're done with the marksman, we're gonna transfer to the arch-militant. Once you pick arch-militant, the very first keystone feature would be the right tool for the job. Bread and butter of this class. This is very good on Argenta because bolter fires single attack shots and burst shots. As long as you keep switching between those two, you will get right tool for the job stacks. The more stacks you got, the stronger Argenta is, or better to say, the more damage output she has. There is not much to think about. Just keep switching between different shots and you're good to go. On the next level, for the very first ability, we're gonna take Devastating Attack. Now, what is the most important here with the Devastating Attack? You can make enemies prone. You can apply a lot of different things, but the best way is to pop Devastating Attack, do a single shot on the enemy, and make them prone. You basically disable the enemy that annoys you the most in combat. You can disable high tier enemies as well with Devastating Attack if you're lucky enough. Extremely good ability on the Arch-Militant. On the next level and the first upgrade would be a Breaking Attack, or better to say, this is an upgrade to a Devastating Attack ability. Whenever you use Devastating Attack, now you're gonna reduce armor and toughness of enemies until the end of combat. Crucial. On the next level, Argenta will receive Steady Superiority ulti for the Arch-Militant. This ulti merges extremely well with her Marksman ulti, but we're gonna talk about it later. On the next level, the most important level, the Power Spike, would be action point gain. Now you got 5 action points on Argenta, and on the same level we're gonna learn Ballistic. The bigger the Ballistic, the more accurate Argenta is with her shots. On the next level, we're gonna take Distract talent. You will use burst attacks like crazy, and this is the burst attack that reduces enemies' dodge whenever you hit them by -15%. Absolutely crucial talent. And on the same level, again, we're gonna go for Ballistics. Ballistics is the most important characteristic on Argenta. For the next level, we're gonna learn Wildfire. Wildfire works exactly the same like run and gun, only without movement points. You can shoot for free, so if you got 5 action points and you use basic shot and then you go into Wildfire and then you go into run and gun, you can basically shoot 3 times in a row and stack all of those right tool for the job stacks. Okay, so you're gonna hurt more and more and more, and you're gonna play a lot of times during the round. Now if you have an officer that gives her extra action points and so on, plus her ulti, I counted that my Argenta during one round placed 21 shots. That's 21 shots. Let's say that low shots were like 30 damage and crits were 60 to 80 and above. So average was like 50 or 60 damage for 21 shots. Now you did count how much damage output it is on unfair. I can imagine this on easier difficulties easily doing thousands of damage. Okay, so Wildfire is essential. And on the same level, we're gonna learn Hurt Like Hell. Hurt Like Hell is a heavy weapon proficiency basically, and why you need it? Because Argenta doesn't only use mini bolter, she also uses a heavy bolter, right? And you wanna use both bolters because they're absolutely insane. So Hurt Like Hell at this moment is a must. On the next level, we're gonna learn Demolition, because that's what she's proficient with disarming demolition traps, yeah. And on that same level, we're gonna learn Always Ready talent. You will always begin combat with 2 stacks of right tool for the job, your keystone feature, bread and butter, where your damage output comes. For the next level, we're gonna go into strength, so we can actually use heavy weapons. We need a bit of strength on Argenta to use heavy weapons. Heavy weapons require strength. And over here, on the same level, we're gonna learn heavy weapon proficiency and reduce the requirement for strength heavy weapons by -25. Now Argenta can equip a heavy bolter as well as her own mini bolter. And now, from this moment, this is the biggest power spike on Argenta, and this is where the real pain starts. On the next level, we're gonna learn Breaking Point. Heavy weapons will now deal additional damage and they will ignore 2 deflection from enemies. Your heavy bolter will hurt even more, in other words. And for the next level, we're gonna again learn Demolition, and for the characteristic, we're gonna take Agility. The bigger the agility, the bigger the dodge. And the main defensive attribute on Argenta would be dodge. You need huge dodge, so you can dodge enemies' attacks. Simple as that. On the next level, we gain Ulti Upgrade, a steady superiority upgrade, and we're gonna opt in for upgrade 4. What it provides is to use both ultis during the single combat. So ulti from a marksman, and you can use ulti from Arch Militant during the same combat. They stack together wonderfully, and it's a must for the first upgrade on Argenta. For the next level, we're gonna learn Demolition, and we're gonna learn Flash Fire. Now we're gonna reduce the cost of Wildfire drastically. Or in other words, to put it short, you're gonna be able to use Wildfire immediately because of the talents. You already have 2 stacks, you shoot once, that would be 3 stacks, and you can immediately use Wildfire in round 1. Again, a huge power spike for Argenta. On the next level, we're gonna learn Willpower, cause she is a priest after all, and you're gonna need Willpower for some of her priest abilities. And we're gonna learn a priest talent, okay, on a level that's called The Emperor Protects. There is a chance that Argenta will completely ignore any enemy attack. A small chance, but still there is a chance that she's gonna survive when she gets hit. For the next level and the last ability that we're gonna learn would be a Kick. Kick is not there for damage because it scales out of toughness and strength. Argenta is not that good with those 2, but it is there so you can push enemies away from you and shoot them. This is a defensive ability, the only defensive ability that Argenta has as an Arch Militant. The other one is to move without provoking attacks of opportunity from the warrior. So basically we got 2 ways out if he gets around it. On the next level, we're gonna learn Heavy Gunner. Heavy gunner talent is also crucial, cause heavy weapons always cost 1 more action point to shoot. So if for a mini bolter on a portrait here, you need 2 action points to cast burst fire, you need 3 on a heavy bolter. With heavy gunner, you will need 2 now, same like for the mini one, but you need a talent for this, heavy gunner. On the next level, we're gonna learn toughness. The bigger the toughness is, the more health, or better to say, the more wounds Argenta has. And on the same level, we're gonna opt in for demolition. On the next level, we're gonna turn the right tool for the job into the right method for the job. A stacking critical hit chance on Argenta for each stack of right tool for the job. To put it more precise here, she's gonna start hurting like crazy this time. And on the same level, we're gonna learn a bit of agility. The bigger the agility, the bigger the dodge. Alright, on the next level we're going with toughness, raising Argenta's wounds again, and for the last talent we're gonna learn the Shield of Fate. What we do with this, we're increasing Priest's Resolve, or better to say Argenta's Resolve, so she gains more momentum, so she can cast ulti earlier in the game, and the extra benefit would be some additional armor against demons. And for the final level, for Argenta, as an Arch-Militant, we have ulti upgrade, steady superiority, and we're gonna pick ulti upgrade number 1. So, what it does. When Argenta is supposed to be dead with 0 wounds, you have an extra mini life with 20% wounds back. So once she drops to 0, she's going back on, in this case, 20% out of 88, 20 and something HP, 22 HP, 20, whatever. She comes back to life, she won't die when you use ulti. What is the gear for Argenta? The most important gear by far would be your bolters. Imperial Pride that you can find on Footfall once the quarantine is out. This is extremely important bolter against Xenos and Chaos. Alright? And the other bolter, your bread and butter heavy bolter. When I said Argenta receives a huge spike, this is it. Because she can shoot 16 bullets in a round with a heavy bolter. There is no substitute for this. No flamethrower, no freaking sniper, no melta weapon, nothing can have such damage output as a heavy bolter on Argenta. This is a must. As far as the helmet goes, we're opted in for ballistics. As far as armor goes, you can carry medium armor because she doesn't receive penalties to dodge on the medium armor. As far as trinkets go, I placed awareness and I placed right tool for the job. Combat manipulator, okay, because she is using right tool for the job. Amulet goes into revel in slaughter from the marksman ability, or better to say to enhance the marksman ability. Gloves are there for ballistics and crit, classic. Cape is there for the hit chance, or should I say critical hit chance. And boots are there for ulti. Now how do we play Argenta? I explained how it works when she is a marksman, and now she becomes an arch-militant. And with arch-militant, she has a devastating attack, she has wildfire, she has a kick, and she can combine all of that with revel in slaughter, with run and gun, with rapid fire, and so on. So what is the usual opening? I usually open up with a heavy bolter, alright, with rapid fire trigger, and then burst fire with a heavy bolter. Then I can either use run and gun, or I can use wildfire. No matter which two I use, if I need to move, I use run and gun, and then single attack shoot with a devastating attack trigger to drop some other enemy down. So basically you wanna burst out opponents where there's a lot of them with rapid fire into burst, and then you wanna trigger someone with run and gun or wildfire into devastating attack, so you make them prone. And this is usually your opening. The moment, as soon as you got ulti, the very first one should always be military excellence, okay? Because you can shoot a lot of time. Just make sure that you trigger military excellence on a heavy bolter, because you have more shots on a heavy bolter. When you're fighting Xenos and Chaos, you have your mini Astarte bolter. When you're fighting everything else, you have a heavy bolter. When and if someone gets close, your defensive mechanic would be to kick them away with a kick ability or to just dash out and shoot them. Don't forget that once Argenta is surrounded by enemies, you can always trigger Warhammer, get out with a dash, and then use rapid fire, burst fire, and gain ulti immediately. It's very good, okay, to go with like 3 kills, prepare enemies in round 1, then revel in slaughter, enhance damage, and then find 5 easy enemies to kill. Okay, because of the boots I showed you, she's gonna accumulate ulti very fast and you can have ulti immediately at round 2. Should you use steady superiority or military excellence? Always military excellence, but when you can cast ulti again on Argenta because her talents allow her to cast both ultis, of course you wanna trigger steady superiority as well. When you should basically trigger steady superiority is if you think that your Argenta could die in combat, because that's how she receives that extra mini life chance to survive. As I said, it's very easy to play Argenta, you just need to know how to position and keep her safe and keep her buffed non-stop. Use all of the buffs on Argenta, use additional movement points and action points from Heinrix, use play again from Officer, debuff enemies with operatives, okay, expose their weakness and then use Argenta to burst enemies out. She's there to kill, she's there to shoot, she's not there to crowd control enemies and utilize them or whatever, okay? She's there for slaughter. That's why you have revel in slaughter, eh? Anyways, that would be it with Argenta. The next thing that she's gonna receive is Exemplar, but that's it, some other video. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Are you ready for Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader? As I am. The Emperor protects.